Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku were trapped in our world? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. You realized far too late that it was pouring rain outside. Exiting the doors of your high school following a very good nap from a very boring detention, you don't process the storm until you had let the doors slam shut and automatically lock behind you. You figure your options are to pick the lock and get back into school to try and find an umbrella, subsequently setting off the alarms and causing another Saturday detention, or you could SCK it up. You choose the latter. School-mandated skirt rippling around your legs, you scurry down narrow alleyways and barren city sidewalks. You scarcely notice how few people are around the typically bustling urban cityscape. You're far too busy trying to use your thick tweed jacket to cover your head and avoid ruining your last good pair of knee-high cotton socks. Your run-down apartment complex was a good trek from your school, a fancy, private establishment for rich and overachieving snobs. Granted, you probably were one of said rich snobs at a younger age, but now as a sophomore in high school and have struggled to support yourself for years, you didn't relate to them anymore. Not that you would want it. Your apartment wasn't an awful place to live, anyway. At least you had a roof over your head. The rain brings up foggy snippets of the past as your legs operate solely on their muscle memory. You remember some of the day that your parents died, but you were much younger. The jerking of the car, screeching to a halt, only to flip when it hits. A large boom shakes you from your grim train of thought. You turn to your left, where the sound came from. You look back in the direction you were going. I'm already soaked to the bone. It's not like the apartment is going anywhere. You justify and swiftly slosh through the street towards the explosion. Your sense of right and wrong was a bit skewed from its traditional idea. You couldn't deny it, but you had a strong sense of justice regarding what you did view as good or bad. If something was wrong, you couldn't stop yourself from jumping in and helping. You weren't quite sure if this justice in you was from your own experience or just watching too much anime after hours in the school's library. Apparently it didn't matter in this moment. That sense of justice brought you into the middle of a brawl unlike anything you'd seen. Actually, that was a lie. You had seen this exact type of fight before, but never in real life. It was typically in colorful animation, with characters that don't exist, or rather, shouldn't. You know exactly who they are, though. Several people in costume shout at one another, exchanging quick blows and setting off the occasional explosion, shooting an icicle, or doing some other miraculous thing. You internally wonder if it's some sort of special effects show, or the filming of a movie. That had to be it, right? After all, the street is completely abandoned. It was inexplicable otherwise. One of the people you saw you were sure was a villain, given their dark smudgy makeup and the contemptuous gleam in their eyes. They wore a black cloak which concealed their face, and a voice-modulating device around their throat. Careful, you fledgling heroes. This world isn't used to such flashy quirks. They giggle. You could end up causing an uproar. They were speaking Japanese. Like any good multi-million-dollar business owner in training, you had become fluent in many languages at a young age, Japanese included. Nowadays, though, you only used it to watch anime without subtitles. A large green disc appears on the ground behind them. You cover your mouth in a gasp. Is that something special effects can do nowadays? The other villains retreat and leap into the hole, followed quickly by the villain that created it. Their voice rings out as they descend. Good luck, little heroes. The hole closes up. The 6 remaining people rush over to where it was, but it was clearly too late. The street, now silent save the sound of rain, was disconcertingly still. You watch them completely in awe. This can't be real. You murmur to yourself, tone almost frustrated. You give the 6 boys in front of you a once-over, liking your lips slightly at the sheer amount of muscle each boy possesses. Well, if it is a movie, they hired some DMN fine actors, you think with a smirk. Damn it. The shout comes from a spiky-haired blonde. He swings his arms wildly, nicely flexing his exposed arms. The rain sticks the black sleeveless shirt with a red X to his large chest. He suddenly holds his hands with his palms up, a loud crackling coming from the glove, or rather, giant grenade-like gauntlets on his hands. The sound of explosives triggers something primal in your mind, but you choose to focus on what he is saying and not what sound his gloves are making. Get back here, you shitty villain extra. You can't hide. One removed his helmet, which was the same metallic material as the rest of his outfit, revealing an indigo head of hair and rectangular glasses that had slipped out of place. His eyes were the same deep blue as his hair, but held a silvery glint. His movements were stiff. Bakugo-san, we must remain calm in such a situation. He waved his arm in an odd chopping motion. F of Four Eyes. I'm said. Keikaken, a nervous sound comes from another boy with green hair, which somehow stays partially fluffy while being soaking wet. He moves towards the angry one, earning a glare that shoots daggers. He holds up his hands, which are covered in long white gloves over his green supersuit, in an attempt to placate the other. Wait a minute. If what that villain said is true, then we're stranded in a world with no quirks, a boy finishes stoically, adjusting the silver strap on his blue costume. His hair, half snow and half scarlet, clings to his face as he stares at the ground. You can't see his face, but you know there is a burn around his eye under the red side of his hair. His eyes are different colors. See, come on, guys, another with bright red hair pipes up after a moment of silence. We don't know that. We're probably just somewhere else in our world, another country. All might dashed, he stops himself, then continues with the same energy, albeit somewhat more nervously. Some hero will come and find us. He finishes with a heroic pose, puffing out his chest, which is exposed save two black straps forming an X. His arms are covered in black sleeves. Exactly, the last one agrees with a smile, hands behind his head. He has yellow hair with a black stripe through it. This one's costume wasn't nearly as revealing as the previous, but it was slick, in your opinion. And if you're being honest, you don't need any more tasty distractions at this point. The heroes will probably come anytime. You feel your stomach drop. If this is real, then they have nowhere to go, do they? What? A shout from the spiky blonde jars you. Wait, is he shouting at me? Stalker chick? Where are we? The others gave him harsh looks for his manner of speech. You emerge from the alleyway slowly, unsure of how to play your hand. Why, you're in the United States, you say, spoken Japanese a bit rusty. Deciding to play it safe, you ask, is there any way I can help you? The green-haired boy comes up to you in a bit of excited relief. Thank you. He blushed, trying to speak in English. WEWOULD. LIKETO. FIND. CLLPHONE? Moron, she clearly speaks Japanese. The first one smacks a tuft of green hair, and you stifle an inappropriately timed laugh. It's no problem, I appreciate the thought. I might be one of the few around here that speaks it, though. You are far away from home. If you are from Japan, you smile respectfully. Yeah, the yellow-haired one sidles up next to you, placing an arm around your shoulders. We really appreciate the help, sweetheart. See, guys, I told you we have nothing to worry about. You blush slightly. And no problem, you mumble. You needed a phone, you said? Who are you trying to call? Well, we're students at UA High. The same boy continues. You know the best hero school in Japan? We need to call them so they can pick us up. Yes. To us heroes in training, your assistance is greatly appreciated, citizen. The one with glasses emphasized with a firm chop of his hand. You laugh a bit, still not quite sure if they're pretending. You hope so, just for your sanity's sake. You probably wouldn't be able to handle yourself if these boys were real. Not to mention, you're still standing out in the rain, so your patience for this little game is growing short. You pull away from the boys, giving yourself some room to see all of them at once. I appreciate the commitment, but really, what do you guys need? They all stare at you in silence. What? The red-haired one asks softly. You can see the small fear in his eyes and almost feel bad. I'm all about cosplay, acting, all that jazz. The special effects were amazing and I'm glad that you're all gung-ho about this, but I'm tired and I'm soaked. Do you guys need me to call you a cab? Uber? Something? I'm more than willing to help, but you gotta level with me. See cosplay? The boy with green hair furrows his brow, mumbling under his breath. Special effects? The red-haired and the yellow-haired boys exchange a glance. You cross your arms with a huff, raising an eyebrow. You shoot them a look that reads, "Anytime now." "I think understand what's happened," the half-red half-white-haired boy speaks over the confused sounds of the others. His voice is smooth and eloquent, and his speech formal to a fault. "Miss, we have come from another world where we have powers. We were told this is a world with no powers or heroes. From your reaction, I am assuming that's correct." You tighten the grip on your arms, nodding. You find yourself gazing between both eyes, one a vivid teal and the other a muted gray, unable to pick one to watch. Is that his real eye color? They're too pretty to be, they must be contacts, you think idly. If that is the case, he sighs slightly, then we are trapped here until further notice, and are in need of somewhere to stay. His voice is gentle as he approaches you slightly. Your generosity in helping us has already been enormous, and I am sure you do not believe our story at this time, but may we ask for some help in finding somewhere to stay the night? You open your mouth to speak, but pause, shutting it. You feel your cheeks heating up. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. If this is real, I'll help you guys out. You see them all release a breath you didn't realize they were holding. I can't promise anywhere fancy to stay the night, so don't complain. But come morning, if you don't get out of Dodge, I'd like for you all to prove your story to me. For right now, though, we are all soaked to the bone and in need of showers and sleep and food. The green boy practically leaps onto you in a hug. Thank you so much, he stumbles, face red and retreating as he realizes he doesn't know your name. Y/N. Y/N/L/N. He nods, giving you the most genuine smile you think you've ever seen. Thank you so much, L/N-san. You chuckle, nodding to the others as they thank you as well. Except the angry blonde one, but that didn't surprise you. Okay, follow me. In case you get lost, it's through this street, to the left, and 3 blocks up. It'll be on the right. Big brick building like all the rest, so good luck picking it out of a lineup, but it's easy enough to sneak you all up the fire escape. Fire escape? You hear a startled sound behind you. Probably Kiri, you think with a giggle. All right, let's get moving, you say, ignoring the questionable looks you get. They seem to follow you without further question though, to your relief. The rain lets up a bit as you walk, until it's nothing more than a sprinkle. You turn back to them when you reach the apartment building. Alrighty, you clap your hands together. I'm gonna go up to my apartment, then I'll open the window so you all can get in. Go over there, you say, gesturing to a narrow alleyway, and wait until you see me. Shouldn't be more than a few minutes. Climb up the fire escape once you see me. The shortest raises his hand with a slight tremble. Why can't we just go up with you? You give him a devious smile. Because you guys sound like a parade of elephants, and I have to sneak in without anyone seeing me. Whipping around, you enter the building without another glance. You try not to relish their shocked murmurs too much. Okay, so you had been a bit melodramatic. If anyone had seen you, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You'd probably just get a scolding from the landlady. She was kind enough to let you stay for free in one of the apartments on the top floor, which was permanently under renovation. But she had a reputation to uphold. If a large group of kids in costume came tromping up to the top floor, questions might be asked, and you could end up homeless again. And you rather liked running water. You take the steps up 2 at a time, trying to quell the squelch from your loafers as you go. You pray as you leap up the stairs that no one decides to go out, or come in, or really use the stairs in any fashion. Your prayer seems to be answered, as you manage slip under the caution tape leading to the 6th floor hallway undetected. You walk down the hall swiftly, turning to your room. You reach into your pockets for your keys. Hands slipping into both pockets, coming up empty, you feel yourself pale a bit. Must have lost M in all the running and sheet of FING course. Your hands run through your damp hair, both in frustration and to frisk your hair for bobby pins. A sound of triumph escapes your soft, smirking lips when you find what you're looking for. Taking 2 hairpins, you approach your doorknob and insert them with practiced ease. I'll have to ask landlady for a new key, that'll PSS her off. I'll cook her some tamales or something as an apology. Your thoughts are far away as your fingers work their magic. After a brief moment, you feel a kerchunk of the door unlocking for you. Smiling smugly, you enter and scurry over to the window. Pushing open the grimy glass, you poke your head out and look below. You are met by 6 pairs of eyes, each swirling in different emotions, ranging from irritation to self-admonishment. You nearly roll your eyes at them. Come on. Your harsh whisper jolts them into action as it echoes through the alleyway. The first to reach you is the green-haired kid, whose body glows a soft green before he easily leaps up to the fire escape. He gives you a sheepish smile when he meets your awe-filled gaze. Thanks, he murmurs, slipping past you. You know what? Far off. Next is the explosive blonde. He uses said explosions to launch himself up to you. The sound of his quirk causes your eyes to shut tightly, and you don't open them again until he brushes past you silently. The navy-haired boy is next, using engines in his leg to bounce off of the opposite brick wall and land neatly in front of you. He nods dutifully to you, eyes conveying what he cannot without breaking the precious quiet. The last 3 file quickly up the fire escape, leaping easily up to the second-story landing and ascending the remainder by stairs. The red-haired boy gives you a bright smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. The yellow-haired boy follows quickly, thanking you with a flirtatious wink. The last is the boy with heterochromic eyes, who nods, but otherwise avoids your gaze. You shut the window with a sigh. Well, boys, mission accomplished. You turn around and face all of them with a smile, hoping to bring a light-hearted air to the room. They all seemed exhausted, physically and emotionally. You still aren't quite sure what to believe, but you know how to spot a person or 6 in need. The shower is that way. You point over to a small hallway. It's next to my room, so no snooping around. There's linens in the cabinet just outside the bathroom, so if you'd like you can just, I dunno, strip and wait for the shower. I don't think you guys will fit in my clothes, you state with a blush, shaking the image of the boys in tight-fitting tanks and short shorts from your mind's eye. Goodness, I'm more of a mess than usual today. I'll try and see if I can find some to borrow. Well, actually, you pause again, there's a thrift store just down the road, they have some basics. I'll go back out and grab some while you guys get warm. What about you? The red-haired one asks with furrowed brows. His concern seems to be reflected in some of the others' eyes as well. You wave him off. It's no big, I offered to help you guys, and I'm not one to do something half-butted, you shoot with a wink. Anyway, there's no point in cleaning up if I just have to go back out in the rain. The same boy nods in understanding, guilt still evident in his eyes. I still feel like one of us should go with you to help. Look, you say softly. I appreciate the offer. But if what you say is true, you have no knowledge of this area, let alone this world and how it operates. You don't speak much of the language. Your help would be limited to what? Protection? I've lived here for a good while. I can handle myself. Here, the green-haired boy blurts out. What about your family? You see his face shift as soon as he finishes speaking. The others give him a glares that makes you feel a bit bad for the boy. You watch him with a soft gaze. They're gone, Izuku, you say with a sigh. But I don't need or want your pity, so just take your showers and let me get you guys some dry clothes. Your tone has a sense of finality, and nobody says anything else as you walk to your bedroom to grab a few $10 bills you keep rolled up in your pillowcase. You're too caught up in your exhaustion to notice your mistake. You slip past the boys without looking at them, but you feel all their eyes on your back as you leave. The question floats in all of their heads. Did the green-haired boy, Midoriya Izuku, ever say his name? Was it ever brought up? You walk through the sprinkling rain, gloomy gray skies now even darker than before. It was probably nearing sundown, though you weren't quite sure, not having a cell phone or watch. The store you had in mind was certainly open still, but it was still irritating to go back out in the rain in your soaked garments. A bell dings as you enter the shop. Picking out clothes for the boys was surprisingly easy. You had intended on grabbing random shirts and briefs and throwing them in a pile for them to sort themselves, but as you went through the store, you found certain items caught your eye that seemed to match the style of one boy or another, and eventually you resigned yourself to your fangirl side and curated specific outfits for each boy. As your confidence in your choices grew, so did your energy level. You were pretty proud of yourself, but more than that, you were surprised at the sheer amount of selection the small thrift store had. After paying and securing your precious cargoes in separate waterproof bags, you set off to your apartment with a small spring in your step. Reaching the apartment without a hitch, you open the door with a significantly brighter aura than when you'd left. You meet 5 towel-clad individuals and the sound of the shower running. Their clothes, well, most of their clothes, are folded neatly on a patch of tile flooring by your kitchenette area. You take all this in, suppress a small blush at the sights of so many abs, and hold up the bags with a smile. Merry Christmas, kiddos. Wow. The yellow-haired boy gives you an excited smile, hopping up from his seat on the floor. In fact, they all seem to be sitting on the floor, avoiding the couch and 2 chairs that the room held. His hand holds his towel securely in place, and you force your eyes on his face and not other places. I'm so thirsty it's not even funny, you sigh inwardly. You really went all out, didn't you? Thanks. You smile back at him. Don't worry about it. I actually enjoyed it, if you can believe that. You giggle, walking over and handing him the bag you marked with a little lightning bolt. Here you are, Sparky. You seem to be in a good mood, the quiet dichromatic boy observes. That's good to see. You glance at him, affirming his words were genuine. Of course they are, you scold yourself. He's too much of a dummy to use sarcasm. This one is for you, Blendy Pen. You smirk at the confused look regarding his nickname, but he says nothing else as you hand him the bag with a little strawberry drawn on it. You watch him scrutinize the symbol, as if wondering what it could mean, before giggling and moving on to your next victim. For Sonic, you hand the glasses-clad boy his bag with a little hedgehog doodle. He stands, chopping his free hand emphatically through the air. Thank you, L/San. You have gone above what any of us could have asked in assisting us. A nod is all you can manage at his exaggerated display. You turn to the red-haired boy. He smiles at you casually. What might you have in store for me? He asks, sharp teeth on display. A whole slew of surprises, Jaws. You laugh lightly as you toss the bag with a shark on it into his lap. You turn on a dime to give the final boy in the room a devious look. And now for Mr. Sunshine. He scoffs. What the hell kinda monkey suit you gonna put me in, stalker chick? Oh, you lean in with a wicked grin, the kind that'll make you eat those words, blasty. Wanna bet? He asks, standing up and getting in your face with a snarky grin. You shove the bag with the angry frowny face doodle into his arms. Bet beach. You swivel around quickly, hearing the shower turn off and the final boy emerge. Of course he'd go last, you think with a sigh, what a best boy. L/N-san. Midoriya stutters over his words as he grips the towel around his waist like a freaking life raft. I am sorry, I didn't know you were here, and dash? Don't worry, broccoli boy, you say with a small snort of laughter, covering your mouth at his actions. I have clothes for you, so you can change right away. You hand him the bag with a tuft of broccoli drawn on it. Okay, that's all. Of you, right? You don't bother waiting for a response. Right? So, I'm gonna shower, then I'll get you guys all situated for the evening, then I'm gonna take a lewing nap. Until tomorrow morning. So yeah, any pressing issues can be brought up after my shower, but please do organize your thoughts because I have a limited bandwidth. You shoot a thumbs up behind you as you approach the bedroom, gather your clothes, and walk into the shower. The boys wasted no time digging into their bags to see what you'd picked for them, judging by the crinkling of plastic you heard. You smiled as you listened to some of their comments, most of them complimentary. In fact, all of them were, if you saw past the backhandedness of one boy's words. The bathroom was already steaming from the previous showers, but you could tell they made an effort to be hospitable guests. You were especially impressed that there was still hot water left for you. Not bad, Yue, not bad at all. As the warm water flowed over your skin and relaxed your muscles, you let thoughts of the future disappear and allowed yourself a moment of peace. You stayed in the shower until the water turned lukewarm, which was only seconds away from freezing. A soft sigh escaped your lips as you exited, and immediately seeing yourself in the mirror, you feel your thoughts go flooding back to the boys sitting in your living room. You growl, how am I supposed to do this? You take a deep breath and close your eyes. And think. Just think of this as if it were a manga where this would actually happen. What would the main hero do? You pause. They would do what I'm doing now. Deny it until the last possible moment, And even then not believe it. Which is the most FING annoying thing ever. So what should I do instead? The answer came to you as soon as you thought the question, but you didn't like it. Assume it's true. Just accept the wacky reality and move on, so you don't waste precious plot with self-doubt, leading to mistrust and difficulty in some upcoming battle. You rub your face in exhaustion. So just go with it. Great, you mumble to yourself. Deciding to finish up your post-shower routine, you gently massage lotion onto your face, trying to treat your skin nicely since you know your current stress levels will be brutal to it. You don't care much about others' perception of your appearance, but you had always been taught to treat your body with kindness since a young age, and that was one of the few lessons from your parents that stuck with you to this day. Slipping into some soft pajama breathes and a tank top, you exit the bathroom with brushed damp hair and glowing skin. You felt the boys' eyes on you, and you tried not to let it get you flustered like it often seemed to. They watched you, a few giving shocked expressions, blinking as though they needed a double take. Bueno dash? Midoriya sputtered out, but clamped his jaw, shaking his head. You ask, placing some hair behind your ear in a self-conscious habit. The boys looked at one another, but chose to say nothing. After a moment of odd silence, your embarrassment flitted away when a voice cut through the tension. Ding, you took your sweet time, didn't you? Relieved at the distraction, you glance lazily over to Blasty, whose hair was now dried into its original spiked form. Sorry? Did you say that you didn't want a place to sleep? He didn't respond, but let out an irritated sound, but said nothing else. It took you until this moment to take in their clothes. The blonde seemed to fit him well, a simple, tight-fitting black tank and snug maroon joggers. You hum softly in approval. Everyone's clothes fit all right? You sit down on a chair that was unoccupied. Nods and verbal affirmations answered you. A sleepy smile grazed your lips. Well, I'm glad. There were a surprising amount of options, so I thought I'd try and make an effort to make you all look decent. I'm impressed. Jaws grins at you. His dark gray t-shirt fit a bit looser, but he looked comfortable in them and the black basketball shorts. You even made us a casual outfit and a nicer one. You nod. Like I said, they had more than I expected, and for very good prices. Your smile drops a bit. So, was there anything we wanted to say or ask before I get you guys settled for the night? The boys look around at one another, somewhat nervous. They clearly have something they want to say, but forgot to designate a speaker or something. You bite your lip. We can move forward with the assumption that I believe you guys, if that helps. I won't question your backstory whatsoever when you decide to share it in full. But for right now, what do we need to talk about? Their tension eases a bit at your statement, but it's still a moment before Blendypen's voice pipes up. He wears a midnight tank and dark gray sweats. His two-tone eyes are fixed on you intently. Yes, there is something we'd like to ask. You nod in encouragement for him to continue. You referred to Midoriya by his name. We talked about it, and we don't think we've said his name, which leads us to believe you knew it prior to us meeting. This, along with other things you've said, makes us believe you know something about our world. So first is, do you know our names? You take a quick breath to steady yourself, ignoring the warmth you feel in your cheeks. Damn it, I messed up. Now my babies and I gotta have the talk. Yes. I do. Not everyone in this world will know your names, but some will. You are Todoroki Shudo. You, turning to Blasty, are Bakugo Katsuki. You go around the room, pointing to Jaws, Sparky, and Sonic. Kirishima Aijuru, Kaminari Denki, Ida Tenya. And of course, Midoriya Izuku. You turn to the broccoli boy, who watches with a deep flush. How do you know our names? Todoroki leans forward, the only part of his demeanor displaying his interest. That's, you sigh, a complicated answer. You bite your lip in consideration. Do I tell them? They'll find out eventually. I guess the simplest way to explain is to show you. You sigh with a bit of uncertainty. You shuffle to your room and grab your laptop, one of the few coveted pieces of technology you own. You were very skilled with computers and coding, but things like a cell phone you never felt the need for. You sit on the couch and open the laptop, and beckon the boys to come and gather. They eye you warily, but comply nonetheless. You carefully type into the search bar. What the F is this? A growl comes from near your ear. You blush but say nothing as you start the first OP song of Boku no Hero Academia. You decide it best not to show any of the episode, fearing that you could reveal some private information about the boys to one another, but the answer to their question is clear to them from the minute-and-a-half video you showed them. They say nothing and stare at the screen. You swallow nervously, their silence becoming deafening. In this world, you all are the characters in a television show. If you are indeed from another world, I am certain the events of this anime reflect directly onto the events in your world. Though, perhaps a bit different, since you're in this world, but that's neither here nor there right now. I know a lot more than just your names. Possibly more about you than you know about each other. You finish with a small glance at Midoriya. His face blushes deeply, but the other boys don't seem to notice. Nobody says anything for another moment. Kaminari is the first to speak. All right. You turn to him with a confused expression. His hands are behind his head casually. I mean, that doesn't change what we gotta do, right? If anything, it means there's a chance there is someone on this world that already knows about our world and can help us get back. His light-hearted exclamation breaks the tension in the room. Right? Kirishima is the next to cheer. We have even more of a chance now. And now that we know L/N-san knows all about us, we don't have to worry about explaining too much. Easier for us. Well, I don't know everything, but I do know a lot, you say, conceited spark in your eyes. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll get you guys settled. Well, on the couch and floor, I guess, you shoot them an apologetic smile. We can talk more about what you all have lived through so far so we can see if I know anything that can help. Until then, let's get some rest. They all agree, and you fall into an odd rhythm of passing out pillows and blankets to them and helping them settle into their respective places. You felt strangely motherly in that moment. Okay, well, good night, boys. You wave awkwardly. A series of mumbled goodnights are thrown your way as you shuffle into your room. You snuggle into your bed, unsure of what else to say to the 6 boys sitting in your living room. What? That happened. You let out a soft laugh, sleep overtaking you nearly instantaneously. The next day, you awoke to the sun's warm rays on your skin. What a strange dream, you sigh as you stretch. Your hearing slowly tunes into the sound of muffled voices through the walls. You ignore it at first, your neighbors downstairs can be rowdy sometimes, but as you listen further it comes from your living room. Brows furrowed and body tense, you creep out from your bed and around the corner to peek in the living room, but not before grabbing one of the small throwing knives you kept hidden away in your room. Eyes blinking the sleep away, you crouch around the corner, prepared to strike. Your shoulders relax a bit when you see the cause of the commotion. Not a dream. Hey, L/N-san. Kirishima's lively voice brought a blush to your face. You carefully tuck the knife against your forearm. Hey Kiri, you give a small wave. You watch the boys all bustling around the kitchen and living room area. What's going on? Breakfast, babe. Kaminari interjects from beside you with a smirk. He tosses an arm around your shoulder and guides you towards the living room. You notice with a smile that he wears the white t-shirt with a graphic design and black sweats you picked for him. Breakfast? Yeah, we wanted to thank you for being so nice to us. Midoriya beams at you from where he sets plates around your coffee table. Best boy wears the clothes you picked as well, and you're pleased at how well the soft pink t-shirt and gray sweats fit him. You're not sure why you're so surprised they're wearing the clothes you bought them, especially considering they have nothing else besides their hero costumes to wear, but it makes you happy nonetheless. You look to see what Midoriya had arranged. Around the circular mahogany table sits 7 thin pillows with soft floral patterns you kept in your linens closet. They were part of an incomplete set landlady had found in an apartment when the tenants moved out, but you'd never found a use for them. How sweet, you gush, pulling Midoriya into a quick hug with the hand that was not clutching the knife still. His cheeks tinge of vivid coral, mouth flopping open and closed. You WHP towards the kitchen, ignoring the boy you probably broke. Oh, you guys should keep it down though, you're being really loud. Your gaze is pointed towards Bakugo, who turns to you with his typical scowl. The F you mean I'm loud? Who's making you breakfast, Beach? He holds a spatula towards you accusatorily. A frilly apron hangs from his neck and is tied neatly around the small of his back. You choose not to comment on this, knowing the spectacle would come to a screeching halt. Who gave you a place to sleep, beach? Shower, beach? Clothed you, beach? Your tone sounds offended, but your smile reveals your sarcasm. Your faces are very close to one another's in a challenging manner. He growls at you. You glare at him. Your eggs are burning, you whisper loud enough for him to hear you, and his face flushes and turns away to salvage his creation. Damn it, he grunts. Don't complain if they taste like sheet, it's your fault. I'm sure it'll be great, Bakugo, you fluster. I'll need a better way to refer to him than Kaken, and Bakugo is too formal. Beach don't deserve it, you think absently as you move back towards the living room. L/N-san. You turn to Todoroki, who enters from the laundry room alongside Ida. They both clutch all of their hero costumes, now clean and dried. Hey, glad to see you guys got your costumes all cleaned up. Just thank you for allowing us to use your washer and dryer. Ida bows a few times and you laugh. Not a problem, Ida. Todoroki nods, face somewhat blank. Just L/N-san, might I ask why you are holding a knife? You intake a sharp breath. You quickly look down to your hand and peel the knife from your forearm with an awkward laugh. I woke up and thought all of you were a dream, so I got a little, nervous when I heard people in my apartment. Doesn't usually mean good news, you chuckle, rubbing the back of your head apologetically. Oh, you dreamt about me? Kaminari popped up beside you. You smack his chest with a smirk. You're such a dork, Minori. Oh, I get a nickname now too? We must be close. Kaminari winks at you, before turning to go about whatever he was doing before. All the boys seem to be doing something to help clean their mess or set up breakfast. It was very cute, and something you'd definitely never have expected. Ever. With anyone. But especially not them. All right, sheetheads, breakfast is ready. Everyone gives an excited cheer, which you promptly shush. You guys gotta keep it down. If people hear us, they might call a noise complaint and the landlady will dash. Knock knock knock. Show up. You finish with a sigh. Nobody say or do anything. You peer out the eye hole, and feel the slightest relief when you see the short, chunky woman you've come to love so much. Her long gray hair was tied back in a braid, draping over her shoulder and onto the pink floral sundress and long necklace with wooden beads she always wore. Her eyes were dark and bore right through your soul. She could spot a bad tenant before they opened their mouth, or so she says. And hell yeah, you believed it. Her skin was incredibly wrinkled and flabby, but she wore it with the same pride she did in her prime, which she often reminisced with you, comparing yourself to her when she was your age. You open the door gingerly, as if any sudden movements would anger her. Hola, Donna, you greet her in her native tongue. Y/N. She yells, seeming to be ready to grab one of her bright yellow Crocs and hit you with them. Are you crazy? Making so much sounds? Do you want to be kicked out, No, Lo Sinto, you frantically make a motion to calm her down. I've got some friends that need a place to stay. They've got nowhere to go, so I wanted to help them. They don't know the situation we are in. Please, Donna, forgive me. I'll make sure they are quiet. She quietly considers what you say. Let me see these friends, she says. You gulp, and step aside so she may enter. Guys, this is my landlady. You introduce the 6 boys, some of whom seem ready to jump out the window. Landlady looks at you with a quirked eyebrow at the language SWH, but turns to the lot before her. Landlady says nothing. She stares intensely at the boys in the room, sizing them up individually. You, she points to Kaminari, look like you would be playing the music too loud. You, she points to Bakugo, look like you would make too much yelling. And you, she points to Midoriya, who points to himself in confusion, look like you keep a secret. I don't like too much secret. They watch you and landlady nervously, and you quietly translate for them. They don't seem any less nervous after you do. Landlady snaps her attention to you. The boys watch in slight awe as the two of you carry out a fast-paced conversation in Spanglish. Midoriya recognizes scarce few words, si and no and gracias, but it's your expression that fills his chest with increasing hope. As the conversation flows, It goes from its respectful, compliant tone to you smiling and even laughing a bit. You and the old woman hug tightly, murmuring something to one another, and she leaves. She does an "I got an eye on you" motion to the boys in the room as she closes the door. Boys, you turn to them with an easygoing expression. Landlady says she'll arrange another apartment up here for you guys. You can stay as long as you need, like I have, just learn to be quiet and respectful of her building. She won't pry into your business, don't worry. She and I have a similar arrangement. You smile knowingly to yourself. The boys all exchange excited glances as if they're going to a summer camp. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. She'll have extra beds and stuff put into the rooms by tonight. In the meantime, we can come up with a plan for how to get you guys back home, and what to do in the meantime. This is awesome. Kirishima punches his palm in excitement. Right? It's like being on some crazy school trip. Kaminari exclaims, fist pumping in the air. I suppose we could make the best use of our time here this way, Todoroki says, considering. Just, as students of UA, we shall make the most of our time here. Ida chops his arm in an affirming manner. Whatever. I guess I'll stay in this lame-boat world for a bit longer, Bakugo grumbles. You can tell he's a bit excited, but he'd never tell. N-san, Midoriya draws your attention. You meet his earnest expression with a gentle one. We really appreciate all you're doing for us. I hope it's not a burden, but, please take care of us. He says hurriedly with a swift and deep bow. Your heart swells at the sight of their excitement and appreciation. You don't get much positive contact with people aside from landlady and a few people at school, so having so many eyes on you is somewhat alarming, to say the least. But, to your surprise, you don't hate it as much as you thought you would have. You feel your lips subconsciously tug in a genuine, sweet smile. Come on, you guys. Bakugo's wonderfully delicious and laboriously made breakfast is getting cold. You clap your hands together gently and gesture for them to gather around the coffee table. Heh, yeah, it's killer, you won't know what wait, what did you call me? They all stifle laughter as you lunge to cover Bakugo's mouth as he opens it to sling profanities at a high volume. You cling for dear life as he rides around under your firm grasp, both hands clamping down over his mouth. Shoo, it's okay, Blasty. It was a joke. No need to get us all in trouble, you say in a soothing, borderline mocking tone, as one would with an animal. He growls as his glare reaches your eyes, which sparkle in laughter. He wrestles you a bit longer, but to no avail. He seems very angry that he can't manage to get out of your grip. Ready to tap out so we can eat? With a moment of hesitation and a huff, he taps your arm. You release him, not noticing how your fingers brush against his lips as they leave. His face blooms with color and he inhales sharply. The others are still laughing about the ordeal. Thank you, sir, you say as you walk around, giving him a mock two-fingered salute. Yeah, get your med food, he grumbles, not looking at you. His face is flushed and crimson. He's probably still mad, you think with a twinge of guilt. He needed to shut up though. You all file around the table, settling into your seats. It was very cozy, everyone could see one another, and everyone felt included in the conversation when food was finally served. Bakugo wasn't lying, it was killer, he knew what he was doing. The eggs were slightly overcooked, but you didn't dare say a word about it, especially since they were still great. You got into an easy rhythm of asking questions about one another. They'd ask you something about yourself, you'd ask them about their timeline or their powers or their interactions. So you all have just gotten your hero licenses? Well, except Shuto and Katsuki. Both boys blush at your familiarity. No, Kirishima looks at you a bit confused, that happened a few months ago. What makes you think that? Oh, you flush a bit. It's just that, that's where the TV show has stopped so far, so I assumed it was a direct parallel. I guess I was wrong, you mumble to yourself, shoveling some more food in your mouth. I would have thought so too, Midoriya hums. But it seems we are from a point in time further than where we are now. Perhaps, you say, if we had the anime to look to for reference, we'd be able to see what would happen. Or at least learn something about these villains. Suppose, Kaminari shrugs. If you were ahead of us, that'd probably be helpful. But we're ahead of you, so we probably won't know. No way to know for sure, I guess. But Kaminari scratches his head, giving a pause indicating the gears in his brain turning. Something bothered me in that intro song you showed us. Midoriya visibly gulps. You nod, encouraging Kaminari to go on. It showed all of us and our classmates except one of them. And there was some other person instead. Interesting, you think to yourself. Maybe you came from a world where reader replaces Mineta? You laugh. You take notice their furrowed browsing exchanges of glances, and your jaw drops. Holy shit, they don't know who Mineta is. Someone else is there instead. Okay, so no little sheet, got it. Trust me, you're not missing out on much. Who is there instead? Shinso? I hope it's Shinso. Sleepy boy. There's a moment where the boys look amongst themselves. It was starting to get on your nerves. They look like they're harboring a deep dark secret I'm not allowed to know. The F-boys? Well, that's the thing, Midoriya mumbles. She kinda. Reminds me. You and her. I'll look a bit alike? That was painful to listen to, you grunt inwardly. Okay, so we look alike. That's fine, I'm not her, so mystery solved in case you were wondering. No, dumbass, Bakugo speaks up. You are her. Your face, your voice, even your shitty personality. You are Ueno Mieko. You look around at all the boys. They all watched you in a way that felt way too personal for having met you a day ago. It felt super strange. And it set you off more than you realized. Look, if me looking like someone you know helps you feel comfortable, that's fine. But I'm not her. My name is Y/NL/N. I'm a lonely but orphan living isolated in a dingy apartment. My only friend is the landlady. My parents paid for my schooling through college in there, well, so I go to a fancy but rich kid school. I don't pay rent, probably couldn't afford it through legal means anyway. I do less than legal jobs for people online to pay for groceries and clothes. I do what I can to survive. I'm not what you guys would call a hero. In fact, I'm probably a villain in your black and white terms. But you're stuck with me, so I'm gonna do what I think is right and help you as best I can. So can we please get back to the topic at hand? The boys don't say anything, but their faces show their regret. You feel a twinge of regret as well. You had snapped a bit at them. God, they look like wounded puppies. Okay, you begin, tone much softer. So this villain that plopped you guys here. They have the quirk to, what, open portals to other worlds. It appears so. Ida nods. How odd. Thinking about it, it makes sense how you all are the stars of a television show. If there is another world that can be reached by portal, then there must have been some previous contact, perhaps with someone that can see into the future or so. I'm not sure what kind of chance encounters it'd take, but with the right creative minds, they could make a hit story out of some young people's lives. It could pass as fiction, and the odds of ever being found out are slim to none, especially in the world where quirks are non-existent. But I suppose that's not the main concern now. You bite your lip in thought, wheels turning mentally. What we need right now is a plan to figure out how to get you guys home. So, let's start by talking about that villain. What do you know about them? Not much, Kirishima grunts, scratching the back of his hair sheepishly. They call themselves Gatekeeper. That's about it. Their powers are still a bit of a mystery, Midoriya adds. They seem to be able to create portals to other realms, but there seems to also be an aspect of time travel or time manipulation, or simply control over when in time the portal opens to the other world. If that is true, then we all could be from a future of the world of ours that you know of, which theoretically runs parallel to yours. That's something to keep in mind, you nod. Any ideas behind their motive, or who they work for? No, Ida states. But we have reason to believe he or she or they are involved with the League of Villains. You quirk a brow. Intrigued. Go on then. He nods curtly. I'll explain how we got to this world, then. It started when Oh, that training exercise, right? Kaminari interjects. Ida nods again, not minding the interruption. Yes. We were Yeah, Kirishima responds to Kaminari. We were all training with Aizawa-sensei when he got called away from some League of Villains attack nearby. So we all got to jump in on the action. Exact. Kaminari bounces in his seat with energy. Right? We got to where the attack was happening and man, there were like 60, maybe 70 villains dash. Well, in fact, there were dash poor Ida. You sigh for the boy as he takes the interjections in stride. No, dumbass, there were only like 30, stop over-exaggerating. Bakugo huffs. We all were fighting them, and the fuckers were dropping like flies, then in comes that fruit bat fucker, flitting around like a goddamned fairy, making a giant butt portal thing underneath us and his dumbass minions that we were fighting. Yes, and that dash. That's when you found us fighting, Todoroki finishes. Ida nods as though he'd been the one to complete the story. You exchange a glance with Midoriya, reading "Is it always like this?" To which he nods. You sigh a bit. Okay, caught up to the present. Out of curiosity, how far are you in school? Summer of our second year, Todoroki answers simply. Your eyes widen. That is a bit of a time jump. It's September, now. That's 9-10 months? 10 months, Ida adds with a chop of affirmation. You spend some moments lost in thought. I suppose we'll have to wait for the villain's next move in this case. I'm sure your teachers and friends are looking for you, and if they get plopped in this world, they'll either be dropped in the past and find us now or be dropped in the future, in which case we just have to wait. And what? Bakugo spits. Sit on our buttes, hope they get shoved through the portal, and know to find us in wherever the hell are America? I'm sure that there's some way to track the portals, we just have to find it. In the meantime, you all just have to be patient. Yeah? Doing what all day? Waiting around for you? I guess not, but a light bulb goes off in your mind. The idea brings a maniacal grin to your face. The boys watch nervously as you hop up from the table and scurry to grab your laptop. You flop back down, use a forearm to swipe cups and dishes away from your space, and begin typing away. Boys, how would you like to be VB's newest transfer students? You sit back to admire your work as the evening rolls around. The last several hours you'd spent sitting isolated in your room in a trance-like state, hacking and forging and preparing. You think back to earlier that morning, just after you slammed your laptop on the coffee table. YY/N, you're not suggesting dash. Yep, you interrupt Midoriya matter-of-factly. You don't bother looking up from your laptop, where you furiously type away. You know what expression he's giving you. It's really not hard to throw together some fake documentation and get you guys into the system as transfer students. But that's not the point. Midoriya stammers. Why you can't just, that's illegal, isn't it? You shrug noncommittally. Yeah, if I get caught. Which I won't. But here's the thing, your tone shifts, and you pause your actions to look up at the heroes in front of you. How else are you six meant to do anything in this world? You have no identification, no money, no knowledge of the world's history or culture, and barely any language skill. You have no idea when that villain will be back. If we're to find a proper lead, we'll need to use the tools available, which are the computers at my school. Exploding buildings and creating ice walls is only going to cause a panic, so you guys just have to trust me and do this my way. You watch them seriously, but an amused expression peeks through. Besides, Happy has a point. What else are you guys gonna do in the meantime? Sit in here all day, twiddling your thumbs? That's a disaster waiting to happen. Kirishima relents with a regretful chuckle. Exactly, you laugh with him. You guys will have your own apartment, and if you guys go to school with me, you could learn more about the language in this world. Most, if not all, of the people at that school speak Japanese because their families are involved with a lot of business and partnerships with Japan. The cafeteria is entirely provided for in the tuition fees, so we won't have to worry about at least 2 meals during school days. We can probably find somewhere private on campus for you guys to continue training your quirks so you don't fall behind in that regard. Won't some people recognize us? Todoroki seems hesitant, but his eyes are intrigued. He wants to believe you, and you can tell. Probably not. Some might say, hey, you look like this character from blah blah blah, in which case you just have to brush it off and they'll get over it. It's not like it is in your world. We don't have powers or quirks, so as long as you don't give them reason to think otherwise, you'll be fine. Saying yeah, I get that a lot and moving on is the best move. Most people won't care enough about you to approach you, though. You sigh and mutter under your breath, especially if you associate with me. You return to your normal tone. So are we in agreement? No complaints? Bakugo lets out a sound of irritated resignation. Nobody else speaks, but they seem like they're warming up to the idea. Kaminari, ever going with the flow, grins at you. This'll be fun. We get to go to a new school again. Plus, I'll bet there's a lot of rich girls at this school. His brows waggle conspiratorially. As soon as he speaks, you feel the tension dissipate. You wonder if anyone else notices the charisma he has, the silent leadership and ease he grants the others. Is that the only thing you think about? Todoroki deadpants, but the rest of you burst into fits of laughter. Kaminari fakes offense. How could I not? In a brand new world with brand new faces, what kind of a guy would pass up this sort of chance? The kind trying to get back home to his old world, Todoroki says with the same intonation, but a small smirk tugs on his lips. So he does have a sense of humor, you note with a smile. Yo, Bakugo's voice snaps you back to reality. He lingers in your doorway, eyes glancing over your ridiculous setup, laptops strewn around you on your bed, mice and mouse pads in seemingly random places, papers, writing utensils, and several empty cans of soda. You had just finished shutting down the last laptop and closed it with a soft tap. Just finished your guy's paperwork? Welcome to Very Best Academy. He grunted, eyebrows lifted. Did all that in? He glanced at the digital clock on your side table, 8 hours? You glanced to see the time. Yeah, I could have done it all in 6, but I wanted to make sure your BR certificate looked pretty. You give a snarky grin. Tisk, he scoffs. He turns his face a bit to hide the pink on his cheeks. You have a strange effect on him, you look and act so much like her, but you're not, so he doesn't know how he's supposed to talk to you. He can't just treat you like Weno. Whatever. That's cool, I guess. You raise a brow at his compliment. Thanks. You watch him for a moment while neither of you say anything. Your thoughts swirl, and your lips move on their own accord. You're different. Huh? He turns to you, scowl in full effect. I just mean, you say quickly, I don't know if it's the fact your timeline is different or if it's because you're older, but you meet his eyes with an unintentionally gentle gaze. You're not how I expected you to be. Rather than mad, he feels intrigued. Oh really? He approaches a bit, letting the door close a bit behind him. He perches on a free space on the bed, near you. What did you think I'd be like? Egocentric. Potty. Entitled. His eyebrows furrow at your words, eyes unreadable. Inconsiderate. Insecure. Angry. Afraid. But I don't see it in you. I mean, you do show those things still. We all do. But it's more of a front, or a reaction, than what I see when I talk to you one-on-one. He grunted, looking away. Did I seem like that much of a D-dash? In the show. Kinda, you giggle a bit at his pouty expression. But I think it's because it focuses on Midoriya. You're his antagonist for a lot of the beginning. His rival. It doesn't show much more of your background than what Midoriya sees of you. And honestly, a lot of the time you're AD to him. But even in those moments, a lot of the people watching can see you through what you say and do. What do you mean? He looks at you. Like when you were kidnapped. And the villains talk to you. The audience knew you wouldn't give in, that you wouldn't even budge. You may not be the most well-understood character, but people love to see you succeed, watching you grow. You pause, blushing. I really loved watching you grow. Bakugo's eyes watch you with the same unreadable expression, like he can't decide if he's annoyed or flattered or embarrassed, but he's certainly awed. Did you flush after he stares at you for too long? Did you come in here to tell me something? He snaps back to his usual expression. He stands up and heads to the door. All right. Dinner is ready. I was gonna see if you needed me to bring it to you or if you'd join us. Guess I got my answer, so come on. You nod and slip off the bed, following behind him. You couldn't help but let your thoughts wander as you followed the blonde into the living room. What sort of a relationship do Bakugo and that girl Ueno Mieko have? Vincent Beauregard Academy for the Elite, the #1 school for the super rich and privileged in the United States. Students with excellent grades, skills, and status come from around the world to attend the award-winning school. You equate it to the real-life Ouran High School. VB, or Very Best as dubbed by the students, was for kids who are the cream of the CRP in all subjects. And the best of the best in the age group were part of the student council. And naturally, as the heroine of this series, they were your worst nemesis. There were scholarship students, sure. But that it was usually easy to spot them, and they were ignored by the student body as a whole. Don't ask, don't tell, and they would survive. You were assumed to be one such student, but by design, you couldn't help but speak out against their rich bullshit, hence the student council's hatred of you. You rivaled them for top spots in most subjects, and your computer skills were the talk of rumor and mystery, but you remained in the bottom rung because of your streak of absences and thus detentions. What? Sometimes you needed money to buy things like food, and that required hacking into the early morning, making a 6 a.m. wake-up call a no-go. Said hacking skills are what allowed you to get the boys into the school as transfer students and process their paperwork like a dream, rather than the usual weeks-long wait. Forging e-documents, processing, and signing them up for classes. You'd informed the boys of the plan over dinner that night, and the next morning it was put in motion. Dressed in the nicest clothes you bought them, they accompanied you to the school, arriving an hour before classes would start. That's probably enough time, right? Right. So, Kaminari sidles up to you as you all make the trek. Anything interesting happen last night with you and Bakugo? You groan a bit inwardly. Last night the landlady had come around to inform you that she prepared individual rooms for the boys, but only 5 apartments were available, so one of the boys would have to stay with you. It's a demon plot device if I ever saw one, you'd grumbled as soon as the news came your way. Not as if Kiri and Katsuki can't room together, or Shuto and Izuku. I'd sooner push either of my ships together than live with any of them, damn it. Kiss him, not me, am I right? There was a spare bed built into the couch, but that isn't the issue. You'd be stuck for an unforeseeable amount of time with at least one guy as a roommate. Granted, they agreed on a civil rotation, and they decided on the order by drawing numbered sticks. Bakugo drew stick number 1. Nah, you shoved him playfully. You and Bakugo didn't say much to one another after your talk. You helped him settle in after the other boys left. You both got ready for bed, with an admittedly cute domestic scene of you both brushing your teeth side by side, and then went to your respective beds. You moved the couch bed to a more private corner of the living room, sectioning it off in a way that made it almost a room unto itself. It was a nice setup if you did say so yourself. Why, are you hoping something will happen when I room with you? Kaminari grins. Dim, you caught me? You laugh. Better hope Bakugo doesn't steal my heart before you get the chance. In that case, Minori, won't matter. His hands clasped the back of his head. I'll still be able to make you mine even if Bakugo makes a move. Oh really now? You poke his side. He recoils with a laugh, clutching his side like he was wounded. Hey! You roll your eyes. We're here. You shout over your shoulder. Midoriya scuttles up to you. So, just so we're clear, he stumbles nervously. We are all transfer students from Japan. We are joining the 4th year, which in Japan is our 3rd year, and we are coming in a few weeks late into the school year. We are getting our uniforms, we are reviewing our schedule, and we go to each class. You nod. You got it. In the US, the teachers stay in their room and the students go around to the different classes. This one is especially big, so be sure to keep those maps handy. You all have the same schedule, but you are allowed to change it around until next week, as per policy. So if you hear of a class you like, you can talk to someone in an office about it to make it seem more official, or just let me know and I'll fix it for you. The school's so damn big the departments barely communicate with one another. Convenient for our purposes, Todoroki notes. Yup, you smile deviously. It definitely has been. You approach the large glass doors of the school, unlocking them with a quick flick of your student ID. If you weren't a student you'd have to buzz in, but they rarely allowed strangers in without an appointment and pre-arranged guest ID pass, good for one scan. This DMN school is too much, sometimes. Bakugo brushes past you and holds the door open, not looking at anyone. You enter first, mumbling a thanks with a ghost of a smile. The rest file in behind you. You don't stop, but slow, knowing they would all stop to take in the view. The entrance was pretty magnificent as much as you hated to admit it. It was massive, the vaulted ceiling sporting a modern-looking titanium chandelier. The ceiling itself was a tinted glass giving a natural glow along with the lighting inside. The marble and stone of the walls and floors, respectively, gave the school a feeling of classical architecture meeting modern accommodations, which is something the school prides itself for. There are ornately framed pictures of the former principals on one wall, each a painting as monarchs might have of themselves. The other wall holds much smaller paintings of notable alumni, presidents of large corporations and small countries, Olympic gold medalists, the like. A large hallway sporting similar decor and photos of faculty veered to the left of the entryway. You wave the boys forward after allowing them a moment to process. Office of Attendance and Student Conduct is this way, as well as all the other offices and the teacher's lounge. Straight ahead and up those steps, you point to a glass staircase leading up and down, are the classrooms. Science and mathematics are on this floor, English and history are upstairs. Arts, business, and language classes are downstairs. The library is at the end of the hall, on all floors. You find yourself speaking softly, the empty hall allowing your voice to echo more than you are used to. There was a small buzz of noise to the right of the entrance, in the cafeteria area. Cafes that way. Some morning clubs are there doing club stuff now, you shrug. You never cared to join any of them. They wouldn't have wanted you to join them, anyway. Student council would probably cut the club's budget in response. You lead them without slowing towards the office. Slamming the door open, you shout in English, "Jeremy, I got some new students." The old man behind the desk watches you with a sour look on his once handsome face. "Miss Y/NL/N, I take it you are responsible for the sudden influx of students?" Jeremy's eyes were deep-set and a muted gray, much like the rest of him, his charcoal cardigan, his black slacks, and the thick salt and pepper hair both atop his head and on his face in a mustache and beard. He has the whole Mediterranean lover fantasy island vibe to him, though he's probably past his prime in that regard. But you're certain he was slinging Mad D in his heyday. You can't help the cheeky grin that plasters onto your face. "Ah shucks, you know me so well." He allows a deep, raspy chuckle, but it quickly gets overtaken by a thick cough. Your smile drops instantly. "What did the doctor say?" You state more than ask after he finishes coughing, leaning with your forearms over the desk. You already know the answer. He shakes his head. "They didn't have anything new to say. They told me the progression was steady, so the timeline hasn't changed." His tone is more annoyed than anything else, but you notice a tinge of something akin to regret, or maybe exhaustion. You grunt. "Well, don't kick the bucket too soon, at least wait until I graduate." You know pity always rubs him the wrong way. Nobody else in this hellhole is gonna save my butt from constant tardies and inevitable expulsion. You grin once more. He laughs, and this time he doesn't cough. "You got that right, smartma?" The boys watch you with varying looks of confusion and curiosity. "Ah, you remember why you're here," switching to Japanese, "Jeremy, these are our newest transfer students. They're from Japan. I trust you got my email." He nods, responding in Japanese as well. It's funny to hear him speak it with his twinge of an accent. "Yeah, I got it late yesterday. You're lucky I got all the paperwork filed in time." "Ah, I knew I kept you around for a reason." He gave a scoffing laugh. "You're too much, Miss L/N. He turns to the boys. "Alright, so first there is Hida Tenyot." You move to the side as Ida chops his arm in affirmation and steps forwards to receive a folder filled with information. He accepts with a bow. Well, several bows. "Thank you. Kaminari Denki." Kaminari saunters up and grabs his folder with a quick thanks and a grin in your direction. "You didn't really try hard to cover up who we are, now did you?" "Oh hush," you scold lightly. "It would have taken an additional several hours to try and come up with new names for all of you." Jeremy doesn't bat an eye. "Kirishima Iger." "Yup." Kirishima accepts with his wide, shark grin. "Thank you, Jeremy-san." Jeremy nods, but you can tell he feels proud at the bit of formality. "Todoroki Shuto." "Bibat L/Y/N." Midoriya stutters as Todoroki silently gathers his items. "Wouldn't that make it easier to figure out that we are? You know." You shrug. Midoriya is called up next. "Nah, maybe just say you guys know the author? That he based the characters off you guys or something. If it gets too suspicious, we can always dye your hair. Or put on a wig." You look over to Todoroki with a smirk, remembering in the anime when he wore a shoddy disguise. He met your gaze. I wouldn't be opposed to another wig. It was very effective. Everyone except Kaminari struggled to withhold laughter. Even Todoroki reveals his smirk. Bakugo just scoffs. What? Wait, when was this? I miss Todoroki in a wig? You all released the laughter you were holding, albeit softly, as it was still early and you really didn't want to draw much attention to yourself. Bakugo Katsuki, Jeremy clears his throat to gather your attention, but he seems amused. Turns to you. I'm surprised to see you like this, Miss L/N. He speaks in English this time. You purse your lips to him as Bakugo gets his papers, eyeing you curiously. Him, Ida, and Todoroki are probably the most fluent in English, so you figure you've got to be careful what you say around those three. What do you mean? I'm always laughing when I'm with you. You're great company. You lean on the desk again. Yes, you always have laughter. But I'm happy to see you with friends. You're my friend, Jeremy, you say quickly, irritated how young and soft your voice sounds. I know. His Mediterranean voice is soothing. And I'm honored. But you need friends your age. Especially now that I'm, He gives you a paternal smile. Him and Landlady have been the closest things to parental figures you've had for the last several years. Yeah, I know, you relent quietly. After thinking a moment, you rest your chin on the palms of your hands, tone regaining its usual cockiness. Well, they kind of fell onto my lap. I had no choice but to take them in. They're more like stray animals than friends. Jeremy doesn't take the bait. At any rate, it makes me happy to know there are other people in your life that know you. That care about you. Your face falls. You understand the implications of that, but it still doesn't feel like something you want to accept. When I die, I want to know there are other people looking after you. Other people that care about you the way I do. It hurt you to think about. We'll see how it goes, I guess. You speak softly once again. You know he understands the implications of what you say as well. People come and go, so we'll see if these ones stick. Well, for your sake, I do hope it works out. He gives you a gentle smile. You return it with a genuine grin in an instant. Me too, Jeremy. What's all this, happening so early in the morning? A voice you loathe to recognize cuts through the tender moment like a dull knife through cold butter. As soon as the deep timbre reaches your ears, your back stiffens and the hair on your neck stands on end. Just showing some new students where the office is, Mr. President. Your voice has a poorly concealed edge to it. You pointedly refuse to look at the owner of the voice. You already know who it is, what he looks like, how he adjusts his stupid perfect Windsor knotted tie, how his dark chestnut curls are styled in an effortlessly perfect way, how his shoes are always impossibly shiny even in muddy rain. He is your nemesis and one of the 4 biggest heart-throbs of the school, as any good manga should have, as you've noted on many occasions. Alistair Ainsworth, the Adonis and absolute authority of Vincent Beauregard's Academy for the Elite, TM. His skin is tan like polished bronze, his jaw is chiseled in the likeness of a statue, his words are transcribed to law, his opinions are adopted by the masses. And he hates your guts. At least, that's what you've gathered after years of people suddenly shunning you and surges of pranks towards you whenever you snark at him. It was pretty easy to assume he hated you. He either initiated the bullying or allowed it to happen in his name, and frankly it doesn't matter which is reality. You just hate him back. Ah, that's so kind of you, Y/N. His slings a muscular arm around your shoulders. His tone is patronizing, but to the untrained ear it might sound curious and chipper. I'm surprised you're even at school today, let alone here early. Good job. And you somehow know 6 new transfer students? No, you say evenly. I heard about them from Jaya, Mr. Harrod. I volunteered to come early and greet them. Really? His voice shoots undercurrents of venom as he turns to Jeremy. And Mr. Harrod allowed this? Without informing me? I insisted. You wriggle out of his arms to face him. His dazzling green eyes meet your gaze. He always reminds you of a snake. You give a smile that leaves no room for discussion on the matter. You know how persistent I can be, Alistair. Alistair's smile turns to a wicked grin. I have a feeling I only know the beginning, little scorpion. You resist a growl at the pet name. Ever since he found out about a certain online presence of yours, he'd been calling you that. It was your only indication he'd found out about your extracurriculars, but it was enough to know he had at least something over you. You'd immediately begun retracing your online steps to make sure you weren't detectable, and made preventative measures to see that you weren't found out in the future. Whipping back around to the heroes, you give them a bit of an apologetic glance. You forced your Japanese to come out broken and very American sounding. I am apology, I am classroom. You talk Jeremy give. Clothes. New clothes. You hear a scoff as you walk away. Alistair speaks in a perfect fluency to the boys. I apologize for her poor language skills. She's not the one you should have met when coming here. I trust you are well otherwise? My name is Dash. You tune out after leaving the office, exchanging looks with some of the boys. They seem to understand why you did what you did, and would go along with it. At least you hope they understood. You sigh, adjusting your backpack and heading to your homeroom class to do some catch-up work you didn't do over the weekend. The halls were quiet as you liked them to be. You didn't bother worrying about the UA students. I'm sure they'll figure it out, they're big boys. Very big. You sigh a bit, the thirst hitting you again. Damn it, I need some serious me time. By the time lunch rolled around, you were so consumed by the usual heckling and shoving by your peers that you nearly forgot that today was indeed not a normal day. You are reminded of this fact when Bakugo slams his lunch tray in the seat across from you. You jolt in your seat. What esh? Bakugo, what the F dash? Huh? He asks irritably around a bite of the giant burger in his equally giant hands. He's wearing a new VB uniform. You're not supposed to associate with me, dumbass. You scoff. You look over and see Midoriya and the others sitting at a table with Alistair and his crew. They all wear new uniforms as well. Why aren't you sitting with the Elite Four? What kinda dumb fucking name is that? He grumbles. I ain't gonna sit there with those dumbasses anyway. They lie through their teeth and act like they know everything. You fail to resist the smirk. They think they do. Then they're FNG dumb, he concludes. You laugh. What's so funny? You rest your chin on the palm of your hand. You know, you'd be popular if you kept your mouth shut, you say with a fond smile. The F's that mean beach? Y/N. A voice calls excitedly. You turn to see a wild-haired guy with a big grin plastered on his face. His light brown locks are curly and unruly, like Midoriya's but shorter, and he wears his school uniform sleeves rolled up, against protocol. West, you greet blandly in English. Not in the mood today. West pouts, setting his tray down beside you. You say that every day. His face beams towards Bakugo. Who's this? Exchange student I met this morning. Japanese. Doesn't seem to like the Elite Four, so he's clinging to me like a tick. That must make you a mangy beach, Bakugo responds in stride, albeit in Japanese. Dumbass, I knew you understood English, you snap in Japanese. I speak Japanese too. West insists, also in Japanese. Yeah, what of it? Doesn't mean. I want to speak it. Bakugo mumbles over a bite of his food, ignoring West. You roll your eyes. Well, either way, welcome to the outcast table, population formerly 2, now 3. You return to your food, ignoring West's lecherous grin and half-lidded eyes as he sidles up to you. Does that mean we had a child together? Pff, West, you jab his side. He scoots away with a fit of laughter. F off, I'm not gonna be your kid. Bakugo snaps in near-perfect unison to you, shooting the bird at West. West laughs again. Diamin, that doesn't convince me at all. You sure you're not related? Or at least very close friends? He gasps. Y/N, are you cheating on me? You roll your eyes. West. Yes, baby? We, are, not, dating. He shakes his head. Maybe not now, but someday I will woo you with my wiles. Maybe start by not saying you'll woo me with your wiles, you state with a fake smile. Or even better, find a new target? West shrugs and turns to Bakugo. So, Lord Explosion Murder, you and Bakugo both stiffen. Has anyone told you dash? Yes. You and Bakugo both snap. You forgot West watched Bienichi. Geez, West, not all Japanese guys are anime characters. You nudge his side, hoping the joke will divert the topic. Well yeah, West defends. I know, but he dash. Next question, you insist. West whistles. Okay, touchy subject, got it. Where are you from, specifically? You and Bakugo sigh, a gesture that didn't go unnoticed by West, but he kept his mouth shut. You let the two talks, or West ask questions and Bakugo snap and curse in response, while West laughed his butt off at Bakugo's antics. It was cute to watch, actually. Shipped, you note internally. Lunch came to a close, and Bakugo left without a word of goodbye. You walk away, leaving West to scurry after you to catch up. He walks with his hands behind his head. That dude is cool. Definitely the same as the Bakugo from Bing, am I right? You shrug in what you hope is a nonchalant way. I guess. I don't see it. He looks at you curiously, then back to where you guys are walking. Whatever. I see it. But what I'm more impressed by is his ability to resist the clutches of the Elite Four. He gives elaborate hand movements and gestures to emphasize his words. You watch him with a smile, and allow a small giggle to slip through your lips. He pauses his antics and watches you in something akin to confusion, bordering on suspicion. What? You blush. You feeling all right? He asks, seeming genuinely concerned. Different today. You furrow your brows, and keep your eyes forward. I'm not. I just had a long weekend. Then why are you here? Why not just stay home today? Because I had to help the transfer students? Why? Because Jeremy asked me to, you say, keeping to your story. You're getting frustrated. Why? Because dash. I don't know why. I just did, alright? You snap, your eyes suddenly watery. I've had a hell of a long weekend and I'd appreciate you not questioning my every movement. Maybe I am different today. Maybe I'm not the same I was on Friday, I don't know. A lot can happen in a weekend. A lot did happen in a weekend. And now, you trail off, voice softening. Now I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help them. You find yourself stopped at the end of the hallway, in front of the library. When did we get here? You feel a pat on your head and look up at West. He watches you with an emotion you're not sure you've seen before. Or maybe you never noticed. You'll figure it out. He smiles down at you encouragingly. Why is everyone so much taller than me? You wonder. Was West always this tall? His smile is brilliant and you have to ignore the butterflies. It was like the past years were some other life, or perhaps a dream, where you were slugging through motions. Now it didn't feel so arduous. You felt lighter. Maybe this weekend changed a lot more than I realized. You scoff a bit once you processed his words. You don't even know what I'm talking about, though. I don't have to, I know you'll figure it out. You always do. He places a gentle peck on the crown of your head and walks into the library with a little wave. You watch in slight awe, giving a small wave back. And hey, it's a good different, he calls as he walks away. The place his lips touched feels warm on your head. But I do not have time to feel this way about him. So I just won't? It works well enough with Alistair. Then again, Alistair is a royal dickhead pain in my butt bully who just happens to have a god body. Damn it. And now all the hot superheroes I get to have to live with? Double damn it. This is one of those lose-lose reverse HRM situations for me, isn't it? You shake your head and let your legs carry you to your next class. You need to just take a break from boys for a second before your body explodes from the heat. Besides the obvious, nothing major happened on the boys' first day of school. You all left school at varying intervals, meeting up at your apartment afterwards. Wasn't even the best part. Kaminari sounds like he's having the time of his life as he stumbles into the apartment with Kirishima in tow. Being the last ones to arrive, the other 5 of you shushed them as they entered. Sorry, Kirishima scratches behind his head regretfully. We were just thinking about today. You two shitheads sure took your time, Bakugo grumbles. Kaminari and Kirishima flank Bakugo on the couch. Ah, did Bakugo miss me? Kaminari coos, and Bakugo swats him away. Dumps idiot, no way? Boys, you snap. Quiet please. At your tone they both do as you say in a near instant, sitting rigidly. Alright, now that we are all here, shall we debrief? First and foremost, anything come up that needs immediate attention? They shook their heads. Nah. Kaminari places his arm on the back of the couch, facing you. You stand leaning against a wall. I had trouble following what they were saying in one class, but this nice chick helped translate for me, he states with a cheeky grin. I think she digs me. You roll your eyes. The teachers should accommodate the notes for you. I'll make sure they're all informed of exchange students. That might have been the one thing that the weeks-long process would have done for you that you overlooked. Did anyone have trouble finding the classes? No. Midoriya pipes up with bright features. In fact, it was surprisingly easy to adjust to. Each floor has designated numbers, so once we were told which floor was which numbers, it was simple. The others nod in agreement. You smile at his enthusiasm. I'm glad it worked out for you guys. Anyone interested in changing their schedule around? Actually, Midoriya answers with a sheepish smile. That guy Alistair sat down with us before school and rearranged our schedules for us. We're pretty happy with our new schedules. His eyes widen when he realizes how you tensed at Alistair's mention. And not that your schedule was bad. But we all had the same one, and we understand that you had limited time, so we're not blaming you or anything, and you said yourself that you would change our schedules, but you already did so much and Alistair offered, so we Midoriya's voice becomes muffled behind Todoroki's hand. She gets it? He states neutrally. Yeah. You release the tension in your shoulders. It's fine. He's a helpful dude, especially when you're on his good side. You should stay there. Bakugo did a dumb thing sitting with me at lunch. You give him a pointed glance. He snaps his gaze away with a tsh of annoyance. But we can't undo anything. As long as you guys stay away from me during school, and try to avoid West, you'll be fine. All but Bakugo look at you with confused glances. West is the guy that sat with me and Bakugo today at lunch. He's probably the only other person in the school that watches Boku no Hero Academia. At least, the only other one willing to admit to it. He pegged Bakugo in an instant, so be careful. You watched their solemn nods, and something felt off to you. It took you a moment to realize what it was. Your hair changing colors? They all look amongst one another, all confused. I don't see anything, Kaminari says quizzically. No, not like actively, but like, your hair has become more normal looking. By this world's standards, at least. Like, more natural looking. They re-evaluated one another, looking at each other's hair intently. At some point they just started grabbing/petting each other's hair and discussing the current colors. It was one of the gayest things you'd ever seen, but you didn't have time to ship anything. Do you guys see it? They're turning more blonde, brown, black, ginger, whatever. Midoriya's seemed to be a deeper color that may only be green in direct sunlight. Bakugo's was pretty much the same as before. Kaminari's hair was more a wheat color than the electric yellow it was previously, and the black stripe was getting lighter. Ida's hair was turning more to a black, in a similar way Midoriya's was. Kirishima's hair just seemed to be returning to the original black it was before he dyed it, but was a rich brown. Todoroki's had the biggest change, as both sides were muddying to a light brown. Kirishima turns to you. What do you think it means? You resist a scoff. Hell if I know, I don't exactly hold a hero exchange program on the regular. You're struck with a thought. Have you guys tried out your powers much since you got here? Bakugo immediately scoffs and holds his hands up to display what should have been a spectacular series of explosions, but instead came out as some short fizzles. The F-dash? The other boys try out their quirks with little luck. Even Ida's engines had retracted into his skin quite a bit without him realizing. Maybe. This world isn't used to having a person with quirks, so people with quirks can't stay long before they become quirkless, you inquire. Makes sense, Midoriya concedes, but I'm still confused as to how. Even Ida's body modification quirk is retracting. You shrug. Does it matter? The real question is, if the villain ever does come back, will you guys regain your powers when you return to your world? After a moment of their fearful glances to one another, you get sick of the gloom. You paste on an easygoing smile. I mean, you probably will. So, you can't shirk your work just because you guys don't have quirks anymore. You think for a moment. If I were to go there, I'd get a wicked cool quirk too, right? Kaminari brightens at the idea. Hell yeah. You'd be such a great hero Y/N. You giggle, happy he aided in your distraction. Ah shucks, Minori. How sweet of you. Say, what do you think my quirk would be? Probably something to do with computers. Or electronics in general. Ida nods fervently. Hey, that means you'd have a quirk like mine, right? Kaminari jumps up from his seat. We'd both be electric. Hell yeah. You run over to give him a high five. Hell yeah. You giggle. Is that our thing? Hell yeah? He grins. Hell yeah it is. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You two are so lame, Bakugo scoffs, striding past you. I'm making dinner. You and Kaminari exchange a grin, pumping your fists in the air. Hell yeah. Bakugo was an incredible chef. You had your doubts when he cooked in the anime, but DMN, it was true. Once the food was set on the humble coffee table, you all barely finished saying, thanks for the food, before it turned into a free-for-all to scramble for the delicious meal. You internally sobbed in thanks to your former self for having the foresight to stock up on some nicer produce and meats. You intended to treat yourself to it in the coming week, but you were glad to share it with the guys. Kirishima was the first to finish his food, and he laid on his back immediately, mouth pouring out praise to Bakugo's skills. One by one, you all followed suit, until every one of you was lounging on top of one another in a contented pile. You'd laid your head on Bakugo's stomach, who'd finished eating before you, and only got a scoff in response. Kaminari, at your other side, plopped his head happily into your torso. You were surprised how okay you were with the current position. So much touching. Wasn't something you were used to, but it was still comfortable. It was warm. It was nice. You felt about ready to doze off when a poke to your side woke you from your daze. Sup, Zuku, you mumble, rubbing your eyes. You see that the other boys had all nodded off as well. There's someone at the door, Midoriya says nervously, loud enough that the other boys begin to rouse as well. You nod. I got it, don't worry. Probably landlady. You yawn and stretch your arms above your head as you stumble to the door. You open it with a lazy look directly ahead of you, expecting the short Latina woman. It is not a short Latina woman. Your eyes meet an incredibly black ensemble, black sweatpants, black thermal shirt, and a black coat over top. Your eyes move up to see the owner of the thin frame. He has chin-length disheveled hair the color of tar. He has an almost impressive amount of stubble. He has a gray scarf draping low around his neck. Your E/C eyes finally meet his dark brown ones. They're rich in color, possibly the only thing about this man that is. You realize you're staring at him with your jowls open like a codfish, so you snap your jaw shut and step back to take him all in. He raises an eyebrow at you. He's also wearing thin rectangular glasses, much like Ida's, and a black beanie that nearly blends into his hair. It seems out of character, but you don't know who this man is, right? You shouldn't. It looks vaguely like. But no, it can't be. Eraserhead is much more fit, right? He takes you in with mild interest, until his gaze slides past you at a sound from one of the boys. His eyes go wide. Midoriya? He sounds unsure. You WP your head around and realize Midoriya is right behind you, watching the man in confusion. They share a similar expression to one another, like they're on the cusp of an epiphany, but don't want to get their hopes up. And then Midoriya reaches the conclusion you tried your darndest not to jump to. Aizawa-sensei? Aizawa fell through the portal, a strange weightlessness and tingling taking over his body. He felt like he was falling down the rabbit hole, down, down, down without stop. Shouldn't he land soon? He sat up in his bed with a gasp. But, he thought, staring at his hands in confusion. What the hell? Aizawa was dressed in different clothes than his hero costume. They were still loose-fitting and black, so there wasn't much change there, but instead of the uniform he wore a simple t-shirt and boxers. He was smothered by a plain black comforter on a twin bed. Shrugging the bedding off him, he placed his feet onto the floor. It was pale cream carpeting in desperate need of a deep cleaning. He stood. He felt frail. He hated it. Noticing a mirror, he took a moment to take himself in. Damn it. His eyesight was sheet. First of all, he had to squint to see anything clearly. His skin looked clammy and pale. His hair was not as long as his usual hair, but it was certainly as unruly. It brushed his chin, which was covered in a sizable amount of stubble. The only major differences he found were his eyesight and the lack of any muscle mass. A loud beeping snagged his attention. Bright green lights began flickering and a machine he'd never seen before began whirring angrily. Aizawa went back to the bed, expecting whomever to have a pair of glasses near their bed. Lo and behold, he was right, and snatched them up, turning his attention to the beeping machine. More so than the machine, what caught his attention was a letter pinned to a cork board on the wall behind it. On it was written Aizawa shoulda. Whoever this is, they know who I am. He opened the letter. Aizawa Shoyuda. My name is, well, Aizawa Shoyuda. To put it simply, if you are reading this, I am you from a world with no quirks. You're wondering how I know about quirks. That villain, the gatekeeper, apparently couldn't resist seeing how far Eraserhead would fall without his quirk, as they put it. I take mild offense to that, but in this world I have no physical power, so I admit defeat to you in that regard. Anyway, Gatekeeper explained briefly about their world, your world, and that to us, all of your lives are documented in the form of an animated show. It's called Boku no Hero Academia. You will learn things you probably shouldn't, so don't watch it. Or do. I don't care. I'm not sure what happens to your previous body when you enter this world, but as Gatekeeper explained it, your consciousness enters my body, you go into a coma state, and I go into a semi-dormant state so you can take control of my body. I'd say don't do anything I wouldn't do with it, but I don't get out much, and I'm assuming you're going to want to find whomever you went through the portal with. Which brings me to the glowing machine in front of you. In simplest terms, I'm a computer/technical genius, so I found a way to use satellites, sensors, and other things in the sky to track the specific signal given off when Gatekeeper uses their power to enter this world, or when anyone from your world uses their quirk. You're in my body, so you don't have yours. Sorry. If it makes you feel better, it won't. They won't have their powers if they're here more than a few days. Don't worry, though, it'll return in a few days once they return to your world, and you'll return to your original body. Probably. Anyway, the machine tracks it down to a few miles radius, so it is fairly accurate. That's where the portal actually happened, and assuming your friends or whatever don't have alternate versions of themselves, they'll land there. I made the machine connect to a program I made that basically books the next flights and cabs to the destination, and a hotel stay for 3 days. The information will print over by the door. I left a buffer of 3 hours minimum for the flights. Under this desk is a bag packed with 3 changes of clothes, a laptop connected to the machine's program, some bottled water, and some food. It's carry-on size. You can use my phone however you want, it's probably on the desk near where you found the glasses. No, I can't read anything without them. The phone has international service. In this envelope are directions to the airport, the number to call the taxi service to get you there, and a debit card connected to my main account. Spend what you need, I have more that I'll ever use. My life doesn't have much happening right now. You can probably tell. If you want to tell me how it goes, I'd appreciate knowing I did something heroic. I doubt you're much for sappy things like that, and neither am I. But, well, I guess you probably know me best. Anyway, you'd better get going, save the day whatever. Good luck. Shoyuda. In the short time it took to read the letter, Aizawa felt a lifetime of loss. This man is who he would be without his quirk, without the motive to save people. Maybe he does have the motive, he clearly wants to help. Maybe he doesn't know how. Aizawa shook the contents of the envelope out, and lo and behold were the necessary items. If nothing else, my alternate self is well prepared. He grabbed a change of clothes, there were 2 piles of unfolded laundry on the floor, and it was pretty clear which one was clean, quickly swapping his black nightwear for black breathes and a black thermal. There was a dark gray scarf draped over a, you guessed it, black coat on the door handle. He put them on, along with socks and shoes that sat near the door. A swift glance to the printer showed the flight was to leave in 3 hours and 15 minutes. It would take 25 minutes to get to the airport, and between 10 to 15 to wait for the cab. He didn't care if he looked like a mess, which he surely did. He needed to get the hell out of this crusty apartment, that reeked of loneliness and sleep deprivation, and back to his kids. Gathering all the necessities, he marched out the door. Aizawa was not a hugger. At least, he wouldn't show he enjoyed hugs. You could have guessed as much. He always seemed a bit tsundere towards his students, but seeing Midoriya rush him and pull him in a teary-eyed hug was probably the most brilliant thing you'd seen yet. Aizawa merely patted Midoriya's head, but his eyes held a soft smile. The most surprising thing about Aizawa's sudden appearance was, well, his appearance. He looked like a total lives in his parents' basement, never seen the sun, only plays video games and collects idol memorabilia kind of auntie. His skin looked pale, and despite the baggy clothing, you could tell he was thin. Like, unhealthy thin. Did something happen to him since coming here? Or is this just how he looked in the future? I'm so happy you found us. Midoriya wiped his eyes as Aizawa stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. Midoriya's face settles to a mildly confused and severely curious expression. How did you find us? He grunts. It's a long story. His voice sounds hoarse. You decide to let the boys have their moment and give yourself time to internally squeal while making a kettle for tea. Aizawa was always one of your favorites. Even in his overly disheveled state, you felt overwhelmed by the greatness. Well, we have plenty of time, Kirishima sighs. We have no idea when the gatekeeper will pop up again, and we have no way of knowing when he does. Actually, Aizawa interjects gruffly, shedding himself of his coat, scarf, and shoes. We have something now. The boys invited him to sit down with them around the coffee table. Most had moved to chairs and the couch after giving him hugs or punches in the arm. Aizawa sat on the floor. While you poured the hot water into mugs with tea bags in them, he launched into what his alternate self explained, as well as his journey to find them. He arrived from Japan Sunday morning. After I got to the hotel, I used the laptop to track the radius of where you could have arrived, and where it was most concentrated. The me from this world has hacking skill, he explains. You smile a bit to yourself as you bring a tray with the tea. He set up some way to access security cameras and whatnot. I found you guys pretty easily after that, waited until school let out, which, I'm surprised you're all in school so quickly after getting to this world. He glances at you, but I'm sure there's an explanation for that. You blush brightly and blow into your tea to hide your face a bit. The boys all snicker. Aizawa turns back to his students. Anyway, I tracked your movement after school let out, found this apartment complex, did some digging into L/N San to try and figure out the apartment number, found there was a section that's been under construction since 1973 and figured that was as good a guess as any. This room and the empty ones over there were the only ones that didn't have cautions taped directly over them. I take it those rooms are where you all are staying. You blink a few times. Wait, you searched me? He nods. You greatly resemble another student of mine, so I dug a bit into your past, more out of curiosity. He nods in your direction. I apologize if I breached your privacy in any way by doing so. You wave a hand with a small laugh. It's fine, you'd want to know who your boys were trusting. Makes sense. And, yeah, they've mentioned that girl Uno Memento or whatever. Ueno Mieko, Ida confirms with a sharp nod. You smile to him in acknowledgement. Poor boy just wants to be helpful, you sigh. Hey, maybe I've got an alternate self too, you smile to the boys. Kaminari grins. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Super cool, we've been friends for years already. Hell yeah, you reach over from where you sit on the floor to his position on the couch so that you can high-five him. Eraserhead watches the scene in mild amusement. You wouldn't have been able to tell anyway, but you were too busy bumping fists with Kaminari in a somewhat elaborate handshake to notice his appraising glance. Oh, right, Aizawa-san, you whirl around to look at him. I forgot to mention, I also am good with coding and computers, so if I may, I'd like to look at the laptop the other Aizawa Shoyuta left you. I may be able to figure out the program he used. Aizawa grunts. It's of no issue to me. You smile reflexively. A grumpy dadzawa is a sleepy dadzawa. I could talk to the landlady for you and arrange for an apartment of your own. She's stingy, but she's kind when it comes to a person in need. He shakes his head. I have all of my things at the hotel, and I have disposable funding thanks to my alternate self. Thanks. He sounds genuinely grateful for the thought. You smile brightly. Anytime, sir. You give a mock salute. He chuckles with a ghost of a smile. You wonder if he was this animated, if you could call it that, in the show. I'll bring the laptop by tomorrow after school for you to look at, L/N San. I'll monitor it during the day. If anything happens during the day, I'll notify you somehow. You nod. Understood. Aizawa stands and shrugs his coat and shoes on, leaving you where you sit. He turns to you as he opens the door. It's nice to know they're in good hands. Take care. You give a small wave. See ya? You watch the door for a few moments, counting to 3. You slowly turn back, eyes wide. Eek. Your hands smash over your face as you squeal and kick your legs in excitement. Oh my god, that was Aizawa Shoyudat, that was Eraserhead. Kirishima and Kaminari are rolling in their seats laughing. You're as big a fangirl as Deku. Kaminari wheezes, wiping his eyes. You have no idea what it's like. You speak frantically. A week ago, he was just this hot teacher from a television show I watched, and now he's sitting in my living room and talking to me and telling me I'm taking care of my other favorite characters from the same show, and oh my god. You squeal again into your hands. Wait, did you just call Aizawa dash? Irrelevant. You blush, realizing what you'd said aloud. My thirst is made known, abort mission. And did you just call us dash? Also irrelevant. I definitely did not react similarly to all of you. Was it when you took the shower or when you went out to buy us clothes? Todoroki asks smartly. Ah, damn it. Kaminari goes along with Todoroki. If I'd known you were gonna need a cold shower, I wouldn't have saved you any hot water. You glare at one and then the other, both wearing equally sheet-eating grins. Listen, wise buttes, you cannot imagine the emotional turmoil I've gone through having to live with the same characters I've crushed on forever. You blush immediately. I have no head-to-mouth filter today, apparently. You quickly decide to just keep talking, hoping some justifying factor will remedy your bruised dignity. It's like when you meet your favorite movie character at Disney World. It's that feeling, times 10 billion. Because as far as I know, you're not actors in costume in some elaborate scheme to dupe me. You pause a moment. In which case I would literally ruin you. And Alistair, because he'd definitely be behind it. We're not tricking you, I promise. Midoriya shakes his head and waves his hands frantically. Your eyes bore into him for a moment, before you start giggling. I believe you, Izuku. I just want to help you guys get home. And looks like we're one step closer now. Right? Ida nods in confirmation. We must focus on our studies and be certain to properly keep up our training regimen. Yeah, we gotta work hard to be in fighting shape for when those villains come back. Kirishima poses, grabbing his flexed bicep. Starting with some goddamned sleep, Bakugo growls. I'm tired as F and you shitheads are all lounging in my bedroom. Why, you're right. Midoriya immediately stands rigidly. We need sleep to go to school tomorrow, and it is late, so we should get back to our rooms. You resist a snort and Midoriya's reaction. Him and Bakugo probably mended their friendship somewhat, but Midoriya seems to have a learned reaction to Bakugo's angry voice. Bye guys, you gave them each a hug as they filed out. It was strange how your stomach reacted to the contact, with a warm, fluttery feeling each time. After the door closed, you turned to Bakugo a bit awkwardly. He had already pulled the bed from the couch and was lounging on it like a lithe predator. His tight-fitting shorts weren't leaving much to the imagination, and his position flexed his biceps and stretched his exposed chest. Demon, the sight made your mind jump to many places, none of them good for your current well-being. Well, I'll go to bed too, I guess. You slowly turn towards your room, his eyes burning into your back. But you stop, eyes forward. Yeah, come here. You dare to look at him. He extended a lazy arm out to beckon you, but every muscle in his body was primed to pounce. What the hell kind of tie is this turning into? You give him a confused look, but obey nonetheless. You perch yourself on the edge of his bed. You wait as he seems to be in thought, finding the right words. When we were laying around after eating, when you were near me, I fell asleep. Bakugo seemed to be slightly embarrassed by his admission, but you patiently let him continue. And even though it wasn't long, it was probably the best sleep I've had in a long time. So what I'm saying is, I think I sleep better when you're around, and I'd like it if you stayed here. Tonight. I won't pull any sheet without your permission or whatever, so don't worry. I just need some sleep for once, goddammit. He ran a hand through his ashy locks, seeming frustrated with himself. You don't sleep well? You ask, voice unexpectedly soft and soothing. You swing your legs up onto the bed, leaning on the back of the couch. Your body mirrors his. Not really, he grunts. He seems to have released some tension with your unspoken acceptance. Ever since that sheet went down with the villains at the training camp during my first year, I've had nightmares and sheet. And it's gotten worse after some of the sheet I've seen after getting my provisional license. Like, I can handle everything just fine in the field. But some of the stuff I see villains do will happen in my dreams, and it's so FING real. It's like I can't do a FNG thing without feeling like I'm gonna have a goddamned nightmare about it. I feel like I don't know, I feel weak. You're surprised by his confession, but don't show it. At some point during him talking, you gently placed a hand around to the back of his scalp and ran fingers through his, surprisingly soft, hair in the way you do to your own hair when you're anxious. He didn't give any indication he didn't like it, so you kept going. There's nothing wrong with being scared, Katsuki. Everyone gets scared. He watches you neutrally, squinting a bit. But I know you're courageous because you're going out there even though you're scared. And because you're opening up to somebody about it. He seems surprised at that statement. It's hard to be honest with yourself, and especially with other people. Figuring it out on your own isn't all it's cracked up to be, trust me. You giggle a bit, and he laughs with you. His cheeks are a bit rosy and his face is more relaxed than you ever thought possible. What? He asks after a moment. You didn't realize you were watching him like that. Whatever that is. Ah, nothing. You smile softly. I'm just really happy to see you so calm and happy, I guess. He blushes profusely at that and turns his head away, but he doesn't move away from where your hand still absently plays with his hair. Weirdo. The statement has no punch behind it. Yeah, I get that a lot. You laugh. Come on, you shimmy down and under his blankets. We gotta rest up for school tomorrow. His blush doesn't go away in the slightest as he pulls the blankets up his chest. Your head is flat on the pillow, but he still lounges against the back of the couch. He seems almost hesitant. Do you sleep propped up like that, Katsuki? You tease lightly. He scoffs but slides down nonetheless. There's a thick tension coming from him. Is it because I look like that girl? He always seems to look at me in a way that's way more. You can't find the word. Knowing? And you blush at the thought. Holy shit, does he like her? Are they dating or something? You're tempted to ask, but an arm snaking around your waist and pulling you to his chest silences all your thoughts. You look up at him and immediately regret it. Well, regret isn't quite the word. Katsuki? Your voice is smaller than you'd like, but the way he's looking at you is a strange and heady combination of reverent, predatory, and protective. You're suddenly hyper-aware of how little space is between your faces. A blush creeps in without your permission. Damn it, he whispers. His voice sounds almost pained. You two are so alike. You can't think of anything to say other than I'm sorry. He smiles that same disarming smile and strokes your hair. Don't apologize. It's not a bad thing. It just makes this harder. You lick your lips slightly, eyes lidded. Sheet, he needs to rethink his word choice. What's harder, Katsuki? You whisper back. He swallows thickly, watching you for a moment. His lips part to say something, but chooses instead to lean in closer to you. You feel his breath as he inches towards you. Just as he is about to hesitate, you close the gap, eyes fluttering shut. Holy shit. Holy shit. You try not to squeal at the passion he throws into the kiss. His hands grip your waist and hair, yours slide up his chest to clasp his face and neck. The pace is slow and experimental. He kisses you firmly, like he's afraid you'll disappear, but not forcefully. You reciprocate with fervor, signaling to him that you are, in fact, okay with this. He takes the hint, and his tongue peeks into your willing mouth. He speeds up a bit, but not much. He savors every moment the lips meet, every gentle peck, every tug of your hair, every soft you give him. You lose yourself in the moment as he tunes every part of himself in. For a moment, you forget the absurdity of the fact that you're kissing a fictional character and allow yourself to just kiss a guy you have insane chemistry with. But then he gently breaks the kiss and watches you like you're the fulfilling of his hopes and dreams, and reality comes crashing in. For a brief moment you look at him with a flushed and dazed look, but he immediately sees when the wheels start to turn, wondering about the why and the what next. Ouch. Your hand shoots to your forehead, where he flicked you. Stop thinking so much. He mumbles, repositioning the both of you into the optimal cuddle mode. It doesn't have to be any more than what it was, alright? Stop stressing before I can really enjoy what just happened. A smile grows on your lips as you think about his words. You nod. Okay. You look up at him with bright eyes and a content smile. Thanks, Katsuki. He placed a peck on your forehead, where he flicked you. Go to sleep Y/N. You nod your head against his chest, already following his instructions. Waking up to the smell of Bakugo's cooking was probably on your top 3 ways to wake up, behind waking to being given ORZC and not waking up at all. Neither of which you've experienced. So of realistic ways to wake up, it was number 1. You stretch your arms above your head with a soft groan. What a workout, Katsuki, you say more out of your reflex to tease him than anything else. Kissing him was more emotionally exhausting than physically, though you could definitely imagine a scenario where kissing him would be. You pop your head over the back of the couch to try and see Bakugo's reaction, but you're met with Midoriya's blushing face. Y/N-chan, didn't realize you were there. And you are in KKK Kaken's bed? That's none of my business, of course. You're allowed to sleep with where. Sleep wherever you want. You don't need to worry about any of us, no we now have an opinion centimeter dash. There's a loud whistle and a hand clamps over Midoriya's mouth. You feel yourself blush profusely as you turn to Kaminari. I was wondering why you weren't up yet, but I'd be fast asleep too if I'd spent the night like you did. Minori. You place a hand over your heart in fake scandal. Do you actually think I'd get laid and not run to your room to spill the details immediately after? You hurt me. So, why are you in Keikaken's bed? Midoriya peeks out from behind Kaminari's hand. If you don't mind me clamp. You look over to where Bakugo stood in the kitchen. He didn't face you, but you could tell by the way he tensed that he was listening. I couldn't sleep. Bakugo put up with me for the night, and eventually I was able to fall asleep. You make an exasperated expression. Must be all those all-nighters I pull when hacking. I've become nocturnal. You boys are making a human out of this bat. Kaminari ruffles your hair. Sorry to hear that, baby girl. If you ever need someone to ease your worries, I'm always here for you. Minori. You leap over the couch and glomp him with a hug. What a sweet-hearted gentlemanly cuddle bud I've got. He laughs, only if you never call me that again. No promises. You wink and break the hug, sauntering to the kitchen area. Alright lover, what are we cooking today? Shut the F up lazy butt. I'm making some FING pancakes, so if you want syrup, get your half-awake sheet together and grab it for me. He doesn't look at you, but that doesn't completely conceal the blush. You face him with a salute and whirl to the cabinet. You grab it and go to set it on the coffee table. You realize Todoroki has been sitting in a chair and silently observing the whole ordeal. You give him a bright smile. Good morning, you say softly. Did you sleep well? He nods. Better than you, apparently. His lips hold a ghost of a smile. You grin. Oh, your volume raises significantly. I wouldn't have slept a wink if Katsuki had any say. F off, you wish I had my say. And what would you do if you had your say, He snaps a wide-eyed gaze to you and flounders like a codfish. You feel a bit bad, but not bad enough to resist the laughter that erupts from you and Kaminari. Todoroki covers a hand over his mouth, and Midoriya bites his lip and blushes. Phew, he mutters. You wish, you giggle in a poor impression of his voice. He flips you his middle finger and you turn back to Todoroki. You perch yourself of the edge of the chair where he sits. Anyway, he agrees. I had some questions regarding the television show you said we are from. You nod. Of course. I might not be able to answer everything, but I'll tell you what I can. The two of you launch into a long-winded discussion about the plot of the show, when it starts, who is featured, how much insight it gives into the villain's pasts and mindset, things of that nature. You tiptoe around topics regarding Midoriya and All Might, for obvious reasons, and try to be generic when talking about more personal plot points, but otherwise you answered a lot. It made you feel like such a nerd, but whatever. The discussion lasted well through the arrival of Ida and Kirishima and the start of breakfast. Hey, Kaminari chimes in as you discuss who Mineta is and why he might not be in their universe. That song that you played us, is that the only intro song? You make it sound like there's more. You smile brightly. Just, right now there are 5 songs, 1 for Season 1, 2 for 2, and 2 for 3. Season 1 had the most build-up to the main villain encounter, the USJ, so they only had the 1 song you guys saw. But for the following seasons there is a theme song for the sports festival arc, the Hero Killer Stain arc, the training camp / All Might retirement arc, and the provisional license arc. Kaminari lights up at the idea. Could we see them? The others seem very interested as well. Well, you sigh, the reason I only showed you guys that first one is because there are some sensitive bits of information in the show, about each of you, about heroes, about your pasts, those sorts of things. Things that I'm not sure if you know, and I'm not sure if you should know. It's not my place to give away that information. You briefly share a glance with Midoriya. But I'll see what I can do. The songs themselves probably don't give too much away. The only ones that might are Hero Killer and All Might's retirement. Well, like I said, I'll see what I can do. I'll try and tinker around with the internet and find out what you guys know, and see what I can give away. You steeple your fingers and waggle your eyebrows in a conspiring manner. Kaminari gives you an electric smile and a thumbs up. Can't wait, babe. It won't take long, boo. You blow him a kiss. He snatches it out of the air and pretends to faint. You shake your head. You look at Midoriya, who watches you with slight trepidation. Now to find a time to talk to Best Boy and see how he feels about his entire identity potentially being out in the open. YY/N-chan. He whispers fearfully the moment you both find a secluded corner of the library. I can't tell them. I promised All Might that I'd keep it a secret. It's bad enough that Kaken figured it out. You told him earlier to meet you in your favorite secluded corner of the library during lunch, and his constant state of panic didn't disappoint, as he showed up several minutes before you did. Exactly, you whisper back, setting down your back and pulling out your laptop. Bakugo figured it out. Think for a second how that must have felt, how mistrusted he must have felt. The rest of them could find out at any moment, by a simple search. It's of the most important plot points in the entire show, if not the most important. You pause your typing and face him. You're the main character of this show. Even if that's now how it is in real life, even if you guys are all equals, in this world you are the one everyone knows about. The most readily available information about this show is information on you. Do you want your friends to find out from another source, someone saying something in passing, or worse, just from their own findings? I know you feel like you're betraying All Might. You place a hand on his shoulder. And I'm not going to make the choice for you. But I think you know how I stand on the matter. You turn back to the screen. For now, let's watch the intro songs and see if anything stands out to you as a red flag. The ones I think might have revealing information are the ones for the Hero Killer arc, which shows you, Ida, and Todoroki in various fighting poses near Stain, and the one after that, which shows a sort of representation of All Might receiving his power. The show itself will reveal much more, obviously, but I'll try and keep them sated with this for now. The remaining hour was much less tense. Midoriya finally relaxed a bit, and you two were able to laugh about things. Which song is your favorite? Y/N-chan? You think a moment. Well, I saw a video where a kid does a dance to the song peace sign, so I think that one is probably the best because I literally can't listen to it without doing that dance. But otherwise, I dunno. I like all of them except Sora and Utiba. Which one's that? He places his chin on a hand as his elbow rests on the table. He watches you in curiosity and amusement. The one for the Hero Killer arc. It's a good song, I just didn't like that arc. He furrows his brows. Why not? Because you blush a bit. It was hard watching the fight with you guys in Stain. You hurt yourself a lot in the beginning of the show, but that was different. But in that battle he was hurting all 3 of you, and it was one-sided torture most of the battle. I didn't like watching my heroes get hurt like that. And not that I ever like watching you guys get hurt, but especially not like that. Midoriya's face has bloomed in color. He avoids eye contact but smiles. It's nice to know you see me as a hero. Of course, Izuku, you state quietly but firmly. You're my hero. He turns to you with a dazed look. Hero? He turns away. So, you said nothing happened with you and Kaken yesterday? Izuku, you said softly, and he looks at you with a slight pout. Nothing happened. I don't know why you're being so pouty about it, you giggle, poking his cheek. Katsuki and I just talked a lot. I feel like I misjudged him, so I'm trying to get to know him better. You pause a moment. I think I'm trying to get to know all of you better, you admit sheepishly. I only knew you guys as 2D after all. I'm sure there's some things I got wrong about you guys. He laughs lightly, and you feel any tension leave. You might be right. Maybe I have a dark side? He makes the statement into a question and you snort. Quietly. Sure, Midoriya. A person was sitting in a chair in your apartment waiting for you when you came home. You should have been surprised by a stranger in your home, but you'd been so desensitized to crazy this week that you just plopped on the opposite chair. It wasn't until you sat down that you realized who it was. Oh, hey Aizawa-san. He nods in your direction. His eyes are on the computer in his lap. Anything new with the program? He grunts. I honestly don't know. I'm trying to rely on muscle memory and not think too much about it. Here, he turns it towards you, you take a look. You pop up and squat in front of him, eyes scanning the program. Interesting, your eyes light up while analyzing the page. Mind if I? You gesture to the laptop and he relinquishes it without a word. You scurry back to your chair with a giddy smile. Aizawa watches you with a smile, but you're too consumed with your new toy sophisticated piece of machinery, to notice. L/Shinsen. Aizawa says after a few moments of you tinkering in peace. You look up at him over the screen. His face holds some concern, but you can't decipher much else. The man is still hard for you to read. There were some comments that made me think. What year are my students in their time? You tilt the laptop screen down a bit to focus on his question. Summer of their second year, I think. You guys are from the future, relatively speaking? He nods, brown eyes narrowed and considering. I am not from the same point in time, then. I thought it strange how they looked, but they've changed since coming here as well, so I wasn't certain. I am from the boys' first year, in springtime, so relative to you, I'm from the past. Your eyes widen. How much information is too much? What doesn't he know? You sweat. What's the most recent thing that has happened, I guess I should ask? He shrugs. Nothing. School year has barely started, which is why their familiarity was unusual to me. You nod. That makes sense, I guess. We should let them know. They'll probably come over in a little while. They shouldn't reveal too much about your future. He grunts in what you assume to be agreement. You turn back to the appealing programming. DMN, this world's Aizawa is DMN good. I'll have to meet him when the boys go back to their world. You spend an unknown amount of time absorbed in analyzing the program, giving the boys each a non-committal wave as they walk in. Bakugo was first, only a few minutes behind you, but he didn't say anything, just changing out of his school uniform quickly and plopped on the couch. Midoriya and Ida were next, followed shortly by Todoroki. The three had some light conversation with Aizawa, mostly about the current state of affairs in the world. Kirishima and Kaminari stumbled in last. Shocker, you think absently as they peer over your shoulder. You working on that program thingy? Kaminari asks. You nod, eyes on the screen. Yeah. I'm just looking at the capabilities he's put in it. I added a feature that taps into any cameras in the area, pinning sudden movements so we can look through the video feeds and see if we can find the specific place where the portal opens. Kirishima's eyes widen. Well, that sounds insanely hard. Good job. He flexes an arm and grabs it in an encouraging pose. Thank you. You look at him and smile softly. He blushes the color his hair usually is, looking shocked for a moment, before relaxing to a toothy smile. Somehow, his teeth are still pointed and sharp. He rubs the back of his spiky now black hair. Why yeah, it's no problem. You turn back to the program, not noticing how odd his reaction was. Now I'm going to see if I can retroactively access the cameras in the area when you guys came through. That's a good idea. Todoroki commends in a voice that is quiet, but firm. You smile softly to yourself, feeling a blush creep. To-do doesn't pass out compliments lightly, you note, fingers typing away. As you do your magic, Aizawa breaks the news to the boys. It takes a few minutes to access all the cameras, and several more to watch the footage to see if there's any abnormal movement. Finally, you found the tape that shows the boys. You call them all over and they crowd around your chair to watch the video. Granted, it's barely a flash of color in the corner of the screen and the occasional flash, looking like an explosion. You flinch slightly, forgetting there's no sound. You sigh in relief, for a few reasons. Well, I guess we don't have to worry about someone seeing you guys. You're about to close the feed when something about the video catches your eye. You rewind slightly. You feel the boys tense around you as they notice what you did. Is that, you hear a tremble in Midoriya's voice. You don't blame him, especially if he's had other interactions that you don't know about yet. The girl in a school uniform on the screen skipping merrily away from the fighting happening out of view. Her crazed yellow eyes matched her manic, fanged grin perfectly. Yep, you nod solemnly. She's here too. Aizawa furrows his brows deeply and turns to you. Who is she? You recall, he hasn't reached that arc yet. A crazy waifu that we definitely do not want in our world. Her name is Toga Himiko. Toga Himiko. Aizawa squinted at the screen, imprinting her image in his head. You'd briefly explained that she was a batshit crazy zealot hellbent on the destruction of all heroes. At least she's cute, you say, knowing full well you're grasping at straws with your audience. You can't help but feel slightly defensive of her, even though you know in real life she's bound to be terrifying, as opposed to being super hot and total Yandere waifu material, which she is in the anime. The guys mumble, clearly not seeing what you do. You shrug. Can't win 'em all. I'll start following her movements from this point as much as I can. I might be able to see where she is staying, or where she is now. Aizawa nods. That seems like the best course of action. You smile at the affirmation. You guys get going on whatever you were doing before this. I'll find Toga. Everyone but Kaminari goes about their business, but he remains by your side with a lecherous grin. Yes, you ask, blinking somewhat indignantly. I see you, he chuckles, placing his hands behind his head. You roll your eyes. Oh God, please get the gross straight boy ideal of girls' love out of your head this second. He shrugs, grin remaining. Kaminari leans in with a conspiring look in his eye. Who said I was a straight boy? His voice is low, but his tone indicates he doesn't care who hears. Your eyes widen as you gasp, covering your mouth slightly. Minori, you whisper harshly. My baby boy's a bi baby? You clasp your hands around one of his. He clasps his free hand over yours. As bi as you are, baby girl. He winks. A giggle bubbles from your chest and you retract your hands from his. I was outed so quick, you shake your head. I'm just too thirsty for my own good. Kaminari sighs and lays his head on your shoulder. Girl, that's a mood if I ever did feel one. At least you just admire from afar. I flirt till it hurt and they still avoid me, he whines. You bite your lip in an attempt not to laugh. Turning your head in another direction, you pat his formerly yellow currently wheat-colored hair gently as he lays on your arm, whining to you about his relationship struggles. The others watch you with amusement and confusion, none of them sure what you two are talking about. You'd think having double the choices helps, but it doesn't. You shake your head. He pops up immediately, grabbing your arm. Exactly. His eyes are wide. Like, what's with that? He shakes you slightly, and you limply allow it. If you two morons are done going on about whatever dumb shit you talk about, Bakugo snaps from across the room, you can set up the table so we can actually eat some dinner. I made more good shit as usual, so you better be grateful. You turn to Bakugo with a sly grin and a wink. I'm sure I will tonight, lover boy. His face explodes with color, but he turns around far quicker than you'd like. Quick around, dumbass. He says louder than necessary. The room rumbles with laughter. Laughter is replaced with buzz of activity as everyone begins to prepare for dinner. Hey, You look up at Bakugo from your cuddling position. He didn't even have to ask tonight. After everyone left, you plopped yourself on his bed. You don't have to say anything you don't wanna. But you mentioned you are an orphan. And you live in a rundown apartment complex, but have super fancy computer sheet, and have something going on with the landlord. There's a story there. You smile to yourself a bit. It's strange for you to have someone interested in your past. Normally you'd shut the person out right away, but you're not exactly the same normal you were a few days ago. Well, long of the short, my parents were business owners and they died in a car crash. They set me up for schooling in their will but not much else, so I was on the street a while after being put in a shitty orphanage. Ran away from there, found a laptop, started pulling it apart and figuring out its coding and stuff. I'd learned quite a bit from my schooling up till that point, so I picked up on it pretty quick. Soon I was fully immersed in the hacking world. My big break was when I figured out how to do this whole Robin Hood thing where I take back money from those who are dishonest, people that are doing bad stuff and usually should be in jail anyway. I take more than what was taken from the people, return what the people lost, and keep the extra. Those are the big hits, what I'll spend on the equipment and computer stuff. Usually, though, I set up little taps on people's accounts and take a few dollars, a few cents. Tack it onto other purchases so they're none the wiser. But it adds up and that keeps me sustained, for the most part. Bakugo doesn't say anything for a moment, but pulls you in a tight hug. You've been through shit, huh? You grunt. I'm still here though. You can hear the smile in his voice. Yeah, you are. He loosens the grip again, looking down at you. His eyes are sober. You'd be a good hero. You furrow your brows. I just told you all the illegal shit I do, and that's what you say? She scoffs. That's not what I mean. You help people with no real gain, you could just take all that money. But you give back in full and take from the villains, the bad business owners, whatever. Even if the rest of what you do isn't great, that is heroic. Besides, you do what you gotta to live. I guess, you sigh, snuggling into his warm chest. He smells ridiculously nice, a bit spicy and earthy. You didn't think someone could smell warm. The comforting scent distracts you from his words. After all, aren't villains doing what they have to for survival as well? During your lunch break the next day, you holed yourself up in the library and watched even more footage of Toga, trying to find where she might have gone. You stumble across something a bit horrifying in your search. She's been watching us, you murmur, a shiver making your spine go rigid. Video of her in an alleyway near the school, video of her following you all a street over, video of her outside your apartment. She used her power some of the time in the beginning, assaulting a seemingly random woman and using her blood to change form into the woman. Toga grabbed some objects off of the woman's limp body, you hoped she was only passed out, and walked out of the frame. You follow her as much as you can, but she slipped into a building and out of sight. You try to find her again, going through the nearby camera footage, but she either found a way to evade cameras, or was still in that same building. You don't think she took the form of that woman arbitrarily, though, so the former seems most likely to you. Feeling suddenly exhausted, you decide to skip your next class and take a nap in the library. You shut down the laptop and place it in your bag securely, then let your head flop onto the table in front of you. Your eyes flutter shut. You wake up with a very sudden start. How long? You aren't sure. But a cursory glance around the library tells you it's past dark. Gathering your things quickly, you run out of the library, of the school, and into the street. It's definitely past time for you to be home. This usually isn't a problem, but now you've got a whole slew of boys waiting for you, and no way to contact them. Running down the streets, relying on muscle memory, you tried not to let the impending sheet storm deter you from going back. Confrontation isn't your strong suit, but for these boys, you were willing to try and change. Easier said than done, you sigh. You were so consumed by the sense of impending doom that you didn't realize someone was directly in your path as you were running. You find yourself sprawled across the concrete, backpack skidding away from you. You look to the other person, who fell flat on their bum. I'm so sorry, I wasn't paying attention, and your blood turns to ice when you meet the face of who you ran into. It's okay, the girl giggles. I was waiting for you anyway, Miki-chan. Standing and rubbing her hands on the uniform skirt she wears, she flashes a brilliant smile, sharp canines on display. Her blonde hair is in two messy buns, cute fluffy bangs above fluttering eyelashes. Her cheeks have a pink glow to them. The only thing unsettling about her is the crazed, predatory gleam in her yellow eyes. You fight the trembles that move throughout your body and stand. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not. You curse at yourself for stammering, forcing your voice to remain level. I don't know you either, but I am sorry about running into you. Have a good one. You reach down to grab the backpack with the laptop in it, but apparently she predicts this, because she zips over and grabs the backpack from you. A disconcerting giggle bubbles out from her chest. You're funny. I like you, even if you aren't Miki-chan. Gatekeeper-kun told me I'd find people here that look like people I know, so you must be one of those people. So tell me. She leans in close, eyes lidded and voice sounding excited. If you're not Miki-chan, then you must be someone I don't know. But lucky for you, I want to get to know you. She claps excitedly. So let's start with an introduction. I'm Toga Himiko. We're gonna be BST friends. Because Miki-chan and I are best friends. You are definitely shaking where you stand. Toga's eyes are the most penetrative, scary things you've ever seen. This is a villain. I need to calm down. She's just a person. A scary person, but still a person. I'm L/NY/N. You supply cautiously. She gasps and claps her hands excitedly. Y/N-chan. What a cute name. Come on, I'm making a fun hideout for my friends. You're my friend, so you can join me. Toga snatches your wrist and drags you behind her. Your cheeks flush slightly. This is strangely cute. Toga-san, you call out hesitantly, struggling to match her quick pace. You're in shape, but she's just ridiculously fast. Y/N-chan, you can call me Himiko-chan, she calls without turning around. Himiko, can I have my backpack please? She stops and doesn't turn around. The tension radiating off of her is palpable. She turns on a dime with a bright smile, but her eyes are analytic. Y/N-chan. I'll take good care of it. You smile at her, suppressing the tremors in your body. I believe you. I just like having it. Can I have it back please? Her eyes narrow, but her expression remains the same otherwise. Y/N-chan. So you can keep spying on me, I know you think you're sneaky, but you're not that sneaky. She giggles. Your expression falls. You step back as far as your connected arms will let you. You're only a tiny bit taller than her, if at all, but she's immensely stronger than you. Don't be scared, Y/N-chan. We can be friends still. I've been spying on you too, after all. I think it's cute that you've been watching me. Her cheeks flush further. I think you're cute, Y/N-chan. She takes a step closer to you. You take a step back, but she keeps your wrist firm, making you unable to get away. You're so smart. You're friends with all those heroes. Everyone seems to love you. I want to be Juesti, step, Liku, step. Her breath tickles your ear, and you flush in fear and embarrassment. What? Why? Your voice trembles along with the rest of your body. You sound so small. Toga notices and giggles. Because you're so cute. She murmurs. I like you a lot, and I want to be just like the people I like. Stain-sama. Aizawa-kun. Miki-chan. And you. You look Juesti like Miki-chan, and she looks so cute covered in blood. She's so smart too. You really are just like her. I think I like you just as much as I like her. Her pink hair is pretty and long. She runs her free hand through your hair, tracing your face, and your H/C hair is just as pretty. I don't know who I'd choose. Her rambling makes you flush. Himiko-chan, you just met me. I need to focus, damn it. But you're Juesti like Miki-chan, and I know Miki-chan super well. She's my BST friend. So you're my best friend too, Y/N-chan. I need to get out of here stat. That makes sense. Well, I still need my backpack and I need to get home to my friends. I'm really tired, but I'll definitely hang out with you later, okay? I'll make a special trip to visit you at your hideout. Toga laughs and shakes her head. Nah, you aren't. Don't lie. It's not nice to lie to a friend, Y/N-chan. I'm not. I'd love to see your hideout. But I'm tired. Please, Himiko-kun. She takes a step back and lets go of your hand. Her smile is gone. Think, damn it. You desperately try to muster a happy expression. My birthday is in a few days. We can have a birthday celebration, okay? Will you help me celebrate my birthday, Himiko-chan? Her eyes go a bit wide, considering. Her face falls to its usual smile. Okay. I'll meet you after school on Friday in that alley. She points to a nearby secluded area. Don't tell the boys though. They won't want us to hang out. And then I'll have to find a sneaky way to get you away from them. She giggles in delight, throwing your backpack into your weak arms. I'll even get you a present, so don't be late. You nod numbly. Toga scampers off into an alleyway and you put your backpack on and begin walking back to your apartment, body feeling like jelly, mind in a fog. That was Toga Himiko. I just met Toga Himiko. She is FING terrifying. And she wants to celebrate my 16th birthday with me. You don't even register the sounds that come from the boys when you enter your apartment. The most prominent is probably the shouting from Bakugo, but you just kinda look at him with an expression that's part exhausted, part apologetic, and he backs off. L/N-san. The voice finally brings you out of your fog. You feel two firm hands gripping your shoulders, a comforting warmth. The voice is very low, and a soothing timbre. You look up into two heterochromatic eyes. Shido-kun, you murmur. Are you alright? You nod slightly. I met Himi-, you stop yourself. I met Toga Himiko. She wanted me to go with her to her hideout. She thinks I'm her best friend. She called me Miki-chan. The boys around you stiffen, but Todoroki remains firm and calm. That must have been scary, he notes evenly. His eyes are comforting to look at, and you find yourself finding a hypnotic rhythm going back and forth between the two colors. Gray to turquoise. Gray to turquoise. His eyes are pretty. I'm glad they stayed the same. You nod again. I'm sorry I didn't come home right away. I fell asleep in the library, and then when I left she was waiting for me. If you weren't so and exhausted, you'd notice how he has to resist a smirk. You fell asleep in the library? You nod. I was only planning on skipping a few classes, but then when I woke up everyone was gone. Todoroki places a hand on your head, patting your hair gently. Try and let us know next time you decide to take a nap, You nod. Shido-kun? He hums. I'm sleepy. He nods. I can tell. There's humor in his eyes. You like his eyes like this. You can tell us all about it tomorrow, okay? Let's get you to bed. You nod. Is Katsuki-kun staying here tonight? He shakes his head. While we were waiting for you, I moved in. Bakugo's turn is over, and now I'm to stay with you. Is that all right? You consider a moment, then nod. Yeah. He smiles. But why don't you take a bath? We'll have something for you to eat here after, then you can sleep. You smile back. But thanks, Shido-kun. He pats your head and sends you on your way. You walk in a trance to the bathroom and begin your shower. The boys watch your exit. What the F was that? Bakugo finds himself growling more than he intends. L/N-san is overwhelmed, Todoroki responds flatly. He shoots a glare in Bakugo's direction. She had a scary experience and she's shut down. Ueno-san reacts the same way. Since you clearly can't understand as much, why don't you make her some food and keep your mouth shut? The venom in Todoroki's voice stuns the room. Aizawa sits in the back, watching how the scene will play out, ready to step in if needed. But he doesn't quite know the boys yet, so he's unsure of how it will progress. Todoroki, Kirishima interjects nervously, watching Bakugo's features contort in fury. I know we were all worried about Y/N-chan, but let's keep it chill, alright? It's not manly to let the situation to get the best of us. Todoroki runs a hand over his eyes with a short sigh. You're right, Kirishima. I apologize, Bakugo. Tired? Bakugo scoffs, expression lifting to a less scary one. No sheet. We all are. Dumb Toga Beach made us worry about Y/N-s stupid but. Whatever. She needs some FNG soup. He grumbles the last half under his breath as he moves away to the kitchen to make said soup. Aizawa is shocked. From what he's seen of Bakugo, he wouldn't have left it at that, at least not in his first year. He must mature greatly, Aizawa thinks. It makes him wonder what it would take for him to mature so much in such a short time. But then again, he's sure he'll find out when he gets back to his timeline. The tension in the room lifts greatly once Bakugo calms. Todoroki buzzes around, setting up his bed and clothes for you and anything he can possibly think of to keep busy. Your disappearance rocked him more than he'd like to admit, even if it was very apparent to everyone else as well. Midoriya finally stops his pacing, which he did practically non-stop before you arrived. Kirishima sits with his arms crossed, watching the bathroom door with furrowed brows. Ida stares at the ground, slumped in relief. Kaminari scratches the back of his head, a sigh frequently leaving his lips. They were worried as F about you. Aizawa wonders if this is because of your look-alike, or if they're genuinely concerned about you. He's not sure which. Probably both. You take your time in the bath, movements slow and sluggish, brain barely working. You give long, drawn-out movements as you lather your arms, your torso, your legs. Down, down. You felt a creeping sense of dread in the back of your mind and you knew the fog was keeping it at bay, keeping you from a full panic attack. You let the fog drown you and keep you in the odd limbo state you were in. A knock gathers your attention, and you move to look at the door. It takes you a moment to process. Yeah. L/N-san. Shuto-kun. Are you alright? You hum, almost done. Alright. Bakugo made you some warm soup. Whenever you're done you can eat. You hum softly. Katsuki-kun makes yummy food. Yes he does. Todoroki's words sound like a sigh. You don't know why he'd sigh though. I'm getting out of the bath now, Shuto-kun. Alright. I forgot a towel. I'm gonna get one. L/N-san. He begins. I'm gonna come out now. And no, wait there. I have some clothes and a towel for you. I'll give them to you now. He opens the door a crack and sticks an arm through, hand clenched around the items he'd prepared. Ah, thanks Shuto-kun. He lets out another sigh. It's not a problem. Get dry and dressed and then come eat. You nod, but then realize he can't see it. Okay. You woke up the next morning with a pounding headache. Slowly you piece together what had happened the last night, how Todoroki calmed you down, prevented you from waltzing in the end, practically fed you the soup Bakugo had made. You groan. I was so helpless, you think, suddenly embarrassed. You roll out of your bed and stumble into the kitchen, snatching the painkillers from a cabinet. You shake a few from the bottle and dry swallow them all. Are you feeling any better? You turn to Todoroki, aware of how much of a mess you must look. It's early as hell, but he's still awake and looking fresh as hell. Showered, fluffy brown hair dried, clean uniform on and sipping a cup of tea. DMN, he's an early worm, or whatever. It's strange how his eyes are the same, but you're not complaining. The dude's hot as hell. Yeah. Headache, but nothing major. Thanks for helping me last night. I was kinda overwhelmed, he supplies with a kind smile. He hands a cup of tea your direction. You accept it graciously. Took the words out of my mouth. You take a sip of the herbal tea. This is my favorite blend. Mine too. You smile at him. Didn't take you for a sweets guy. I never used to. I learned to like sweets rather recently. Or, I guess I let myself like sweets. An odd thing to deprive yourself of. He grunts, a coy smile on his lips. I guess I was deprived of a lot of odd things. I'm sorry to hear it. I guess I understand, though. He nods. I figured. A comfortable silence sits between you two as you stand in the kitchen. It was odd, but you didn't hate it. He just sipped on his tea, occasionally giving you a once-over. What time is it? You ask eventually. Early. You could go back to sleep if you'd like. We still have a while before school. You grunt. I think I just might. I'm still exhausted. He nods. When you wake up again, would you be okay sharing what happened yesterday? In better detail. You nod slightly. Yeah. I'll tell all of you. Wake me once the rest get here. He smiles. Go rest L/N-san. Only if you don't address me so formally, you say wistfully as you walk away. You don't see it, but he gives a smile. His expression is almost relieved. He murmurs under his breath as you walk away. Y/N-chan. You're woken again by a soft tapping on your shoulder. Your eyes flutter open to see Todoroki leaning over your bed. Ah, I apologize, I didn't mean to be so invasive. You suppress a laugh. If only you would. It's no problem, Shudo-kun. You crack your neck and stretch. What time is it? 4 p.m. You stiffen. What dash? I let you sleep while we went to school. You looked like you needed it. Aizawa-sensei was here to keep watch, in case Toga came back. I'm sorry if I overstepped my bounds. You smile a bit as you roll out of bed. You had to admit you felt refreshed. Nah, I'm feeling better now. Thanks, dude. You give an easygoing smile, and he seems to release a sigh. I'm glad. You nod. Are the others here? Yes, they arrived a few moments ago. Alrighty. You walk out of your room, and Todoroki follows close behind. He's really taking his role as my roommate seriously. All eyes in the room snap to you when you enter. Hey guys, you say nervously. You're not sure why you're nervous, though. You feel a dumb guilt, like you betrayed them, but you know it's dumb and try to swallow the feeling. Before anyone says a word, Bakugo envelopes you in a tight hug. You stand rigid, but melt into the hug after you feel how he shakes. He was scared to. I'm so sorry I worried you guys, you mutter, loud enough for them all to hear in the quiet room. Shut the F up, Bakugo growls. You didn't do a DMN thing wrong, so don't feel any dumb FNG need to apologize. You laugh, and as you laugh you realize you're crying. When that happen? You break away from Bakugo and wipe your eyes. I guess not. Y/N-chan, Midoriya approaches. His smile is wobbly, and you feel your heart melt a bit. I'm glad you're okay. You draw him into a hug. Aizawa, you smile up at him. He's not much taller than you, but just enough to have to look up. His fluffy black hair tickles your cheek as you rest your head on his shoulder. You feel a hand on your back. You look up to see Kirishima watching you with a pouty expression. You laugh lightly. Come here, big guy. He completely covers you in his large, protective arms. It's a nice, warm hug that makes you feel safe. It's a nice feeling that you're not used to. You meet Kaminari's gaze and smirk. You scuttle over to him, and you squeeze him in a sweet hug. He's not near as big as Kirishima, but it's still warm. You feel a little bit of an electric buzz radiating from his body. Interesting, you idly note. You break from him and look at Ida. He stands as a sentry would in the corner, watching you. Hey, Tenya-kun, you smile softly. He watches you with a soft gaze. It's a very protective look, but more familial than the others. Like a big brother or something. He wraps you in a hug as well. I'm glad you're safe, he whispers in your hair. You can only nod. He plants a chaste kiss to the top of your head and steps back. You turn to the room, trying your best not to look as sniffly as you feel. You meet Aizawa's watchful eye. He nods to you and you smile to him. Is this what a family feels like? You can't say you hate it. Not in the slightest. People to notice when you don't return, people to run off and get you out of trouble, people to be there when you need to talk. That's what these boys had for each other. And somehow you'd landed right in the middle of it. So about Toga, you begin with a bit of a flush, remembering how she was all over you, basically confessing her love, obsession, for you. You definitely should have hated it more than you did. Sure, it terrifies you to your core, and you were scared for your goddamned life, but that didn't turn you off any less. If anything, the fact she likes you and still wants to possibly kill you makes her even hotter. What the hell is wrong with me? I need to get a goddamned grip. She's psycho. She's scary. I can't let myself just What happened? Midoriya prompts gently, unsure how to interpret your flushed face. You compose yourself with a breath. So, basically, she told me she has the hots for me and wants to be me, and wanted to show me the hideout she's making for her friends, probably for the other league of villain people. They're not here yet, so I can only assume that they're going to come eventually. She was waiting for me outside the school. I ran into her literally and she took my backpack and I had to kinda trick her to get it back. She knows I've been watching her movements, and she's been watching ours. She knows where we're staying, where Aizawa-san is staying, where we go to school. The boys think for a moment. Todoroki speaks. What did you say to get the backpack? You blush deeply. That she could celebrate my birthday with me, and that I'd visit the hideout then. She's going to wait for me in a specific alley after school on Friday. She said not to tell you guys, because you wouldn't let us hang out, and she'd have to find another way to get me. Well, obviously you're not gonna do it. Bakugo scoffs. You roll your eyes. Would I have told you all this if I intended to? You sigh. Thing is, it might be valuable to know about their hideout. It could be a really important thing to learn, so if I did dash. No FNG way. Absolutely not. You expected Bakugo's outburst, but Todoroki's surprised you. Well, it would be good to know dash. Not at the risk of your life, Todoroki says with a sense of finality. You sigh, knowing none of them are going to budge. Yeah, I get it. She's gonna be sad though. I didn't intend on doing it anyway, but it's still scary to think of an angry Toga. You shiver slightly. Kaminari places a hand on your back and rubs it a bit. You give him a gracious look. Needless to say, it has been a long 2 days. Ida speaks into the silence that formed. I think it best we focus on our school and training, and trust in the computer program to tell us when we can expect more villains. Remaining vigilant is of utmost importance at this time, to make sure we all stay safe. For once, everyone listened to Ida. Go class rep, you think with a fine smile. You nod in agreement. Let's get some dinner and chill for a little bit. Nobody was about to argue with that. After everyone had filed out of your apartment, giving you wonderfully warm goodnight hugs, you were left alone with a very watchful Todoroki. You're like a mama bird, you laugh as he monitors your movements. He quirks his head in confusion. Or mama bear. Some kind of mother. Watching my every move like you're ready to catch me if I fall. A warmth glows in his cool-toned eyes. Well, the first night staying here you weren't in the best headspace, so I guess I associate sleeping in this room with taking care of you. You blush a bit. Thanks, Mo. I love knowing that a cute guy thinks of me as a nuisance. I never said I didn't like taking care of you, he says quietly. You notice how he ignores the comment about him being cute, but you're sure he heard it, based on the reddish tips of his ears. But you're still a blushing mess, so you can't say much in that regard. Y/N-chan. He begins a bit awkwardly. I know it's a bit forward, but I don't think it's wise to sleep in a different room knowing Toga knows where we live. You have a window in your bedroom. I can keep watch for the night, but I would also like sleep at some point. So, if it's not too much to ask. You nod. Just stay in my bed with me, then. His eyes don't show any kind of response, but his cheeks go a brilliant red. It was truly a sight to behold. No, I only meant sleeping in the same room, we don't have to do that. You smirk. Are you embarrassed? Todoroki Shudo is embarrassed by the idea of sleeping in the same bed with a girl? And here you've been so smooth. His expression turns somewhat competitive, smirking back. Not embarrassed. Just surprised at your lack of tact. You place a hand over your heart. I can happily sleep alone in my bed while you sit watch and admire my sleeping face. I merely offered as an act of kindness. Then I must accept your kindness, he concludes, sauntering to your room. Here we go again, you sigh. Sharing a bed with Todoroki was an experience. You both laid in very regimented sides of the bed, stiff and unmoving. You'd both talked a big game, but apparently that was all it was, because any accidental touch from one would cause the other to flinch violently. You wanted to scold yourself, since you'd done the same, and more, with Bakugo, but it was as if you fed off of Todoroki's nervous energy. It was like he was afraid to harm you or ruin your purity with any touch in a bed. It was kinda hilarious. Or, it would have been, if you hadn't been laying stiff in a bed struggling to fall asleep. Eventually, however, you did fall asleep. And apparently you've become accustomed to a certain cuddle standard, because when you wake up, you and Todoroki are a mixed-up, tangled mess of limbs and warmth. You look up at him, and of course, he's already awake. He doesn't even have the dignity to hide the smirk he wears. In fact, as he watches your expression, the smirk turns to a full-blown sheet-eating grin. Snarky Sunofa, you mutter as you detangle your limbs from his. Todoroki chuckles, sitting up and letting you exit the bed. How long have you been watching me like a creep? An hour or so. You snore. You turn to him with wide eyes, slightly mortified. You open your mouth, but close it when he begins chuckling. Dums, you mumble, turning away with a blush. I do not snore. He releases a soft laugh. No, you don't. I just woke naturally a few minutes ago. I'm surprised you're awake though. You yawn widely. Is it early? Very, he nods, entering the kitchen to make a kettle for tea. You always wake this early? He shrugs. Force of habit. I was encouraged to wake up this early as a child, for training. Even though I'm technically able to sleep in, my body doesn't let me. You nod. You perch yourself up on the countertop, watching him make his tea. Your legs kick out in a kiddish way. I guess I'm gonna have to learn to do it too. Inu Shidokun. Your tone holds no malice. He grins. So that you might be awake with me? I didn't realize you were so desperate to keep my attention. You glare at him. Shut up and make my tea, peasant. He snickers under his breath. You watch him with a smile. I love that he has a sense of humor now. I need to see this process. Anime, hurry up. Todoroki catches your gaze. Is there something I'm forgetting? No. Then why are you watching me like that? He asks, facing you from across the small kitchen. And no reason, I guess. Just thinking. He smiles. Thinking about what? You feel a blush form. He takes slow, calculated steps towards you. You? It comes out as a question. Me. His hips now brush against your knees. You're only a bit higher up than him. Sitting on the counter. You lean forward unconsciously as he places his hands on either side of your legs. You nod as you bite your lip. What about me? I was thinking that I like seeing you happy. You have a pretty laugh. His expression is unreadable for a second, and you're worried you said something wrong. He softens after a moment. Guys usually don't like being called pretty, he jests. But you are, you say a bit defensively. If I'm pretty, then are you appealing? Gorgeous? Because you're much prettier than I. Your cheeks blossom in color. He's very close now, hypnotic eyes boring into you. You look away. If you say so, you resign. A finger slowly traces down the side of your cheek, your jaw, ending at your chin and clasping it. He gently turns your head back in his direction, encouraging you to look at him. You reluctantly do so. I do say so. His tone has an authority that fuels something deep in you. You release something between a sigh and a gasp, maybe both. You're not sure. But to Todoroki, it's music. And he wants to hear the rest of the song. He leans in closer, eyes lidded. You close the gap, eyes fluttering shut. His lips are soft and tender against yours. He is considerate of your pace, so you have to take the initiative to move your lips against his. Your hands land on his shoulders, feeling their way up his strong neck and into his fluffy brown hair. His hands move from the countertop to your thighs. He gently runs his hands over the outside up to your hips. He traces little circles with his thumbs around your pelvis, juts out. You release a small sound into his mouth as he does that, and he takes the chance to slip his tongue in to meet yours. The feeling is surreal. His hands on your waist pulling you close, his mouth moving against yours, tongues dancing back and forth in a battle for depths. You can barely find time to breath, but the lightheaded feeling only amplifies his actions more. You don't even want a breath at this point. He groans softly into your mouth when you wrap your dangling legs around his waist, pressing your chest together. Y/Enchan. One of his hands ventures upward, tracing up your ribs and the crest of your chest, to your neck and into your hair. He breaks his mouth off of yours, and for the slightest moment you are mourning the loss of the contact, but he only takes the few seconds to admire your flushed face and swollen lips before latching onto your neck. His tongue and lips work together like magic, sending shivers down your spine. Eshudokuin, you softly. You can feel his reaction to your sound against your leg. His kisses are trailing down to your collarbone when he stops at one particular place and decides to focus on it. What are you doing, you ask, voice quivering. Marking you a bit, he says flippantly. You aren't sure if you can get any more flushed, but it certainly felt like it in that moment. Eshudokuin. It'll be under the school uniform, he assures between essigs and kisses and licks. Nobody will see. Except me, for the next few days. You can practically hear the devious smirk. Why, you're a little sheet, you know that? You laugh. He rises from his spot on your collarbone. There's a mischievous glint in his eyes. He doesn't say anything but places both hands under your thighs and lifts quickly. You yip in surprise and swiftly grasp around his neck. Todoroki carries you like this to the pull-out couch and throws you onto it. Hey, you shout. He walks away. The kettle's boiling, he says, as if that explains anything. You can practically hear the smirk. Little sheet, you grumble, resigning to Todoroki's tea plans and plopping backwards onto the mattress. Everything was a bit quiet the rest of the morning, your hero exchange students recognizing the nervous buzz you had surrounding you. You know you're gonna be fine, but that doesn't change the feeling of anticipation. Going to school was uneventful, though you shot obvious glances into every alleyway you passed, especially the one Toga indicated. She was nowhere in sight. Classes were boring, but that was no surprise. You'd skipped out early from the class before lunch to get a head start and get your favorite meal. It's Friday. You figure you'll treat yourself before being brutally murdered. A last meal or something. Now, you sit alone at the reject table, mind running wild with possible scenarios of how the day will go. What Toga's intended gift is. Bakugo sets down his tray with more force than required when he sits, and tucks into the meal quickly. He glares at you over the sandwich in his hands. Daffik you lookin' at? He asks around the food. You look like sheet. Didn't sleep? Your words are harsh, but your tone is soft. He merely grunts. Sorry, you look down, feeling a bit guilty. You pick at the food on your plate. But stop with that apology sheet. You don't do sheet and feel bad for nothing. But you said you needed my help to sleep? He shrugs. Doesn't mean you gotta feel bad about not sleeping by me. You're not the reason I sleep like sheet, you just help prevent it. I've managed this long without your help. If it gets real bad you'll know because I'll barge in on you and icy hot doing whatever the F you two do and take you to my room. And what if we're doing stuff like what we were doing? You'd really just barge in on a guy and a girl like that? He narrows his eyes and smirks wickedly. You think I care what you do with him? I'd probably jump in on the action. Your eyes widen and a blush forms on your cheeks. You win this round, compadre. And here I took you for the possessive type. His eyes hold a sinful humor. I've learned to share. Oh sheet. It wasn't meant to be said aloud, but it slipped out. You slap a hand over your mouth quickly. He laughs at you unabashedly. You really are easy sometimes. He grins and continues eating. You fight your blush and begin eating again as well. By now the cafeteria is buzzing with activity. At your table though, it remains silent for a few blessed moments before a loud, obnoxious voice cuts in. Y/N. You sigh, not looking in his direction as he throws himself on you. West. You've been gone for days. His voice is melodramatic, but his eyes hold genuine worry. Stomach flu, you cover quickly. Not that I needed an excuse to want to skip. West has gotten accustomed to speaking with Bakugo in Japanese, to make it easier for him. Bakugo watches the two of you with narrowed eyes. West notices. Oh, by the way, baby girl, West continues in English, arms slinging around your shoulders as he sits, happy birthday. I got you a present. Bakugo stops in his tracks, but continues eating to try and cover it up. Thanks, West. You really didn't have to. You blush slightly. Nonsense. He fishes through his backpack. I got you a thing that I'm sure you'll hate, so you won't feel weird about getting a gift. You laugh a little. Alright then I guess I'll take it. He passes a little cardboard box with your name scrawled across the top in spiky handwriting. You open it. Inside is a ring. It's plain silver with intricate geometric shapes etched into it. It looks small, just right for your pinky finger. You look at him with a suspicious expression. I know you hate jewelry, he explains, but I got this anyway because I thought of you when I saw it. I dunno why. You consider the piece again, slipping it on your right pinky finger. It holds a nice weight, just enough that it's a constant comfort. The design doesn't seem to rub or itch. The color itself is a silver that complements your skin tone. You finally smile after a moment. Thank you. West looks at you like you've grown antennae. I'm sorry, what? He seems to grow excited. You're gonna wear it? You shrug. I guess I like rings. Didn't know it before, you say breezily, continuing to eat. You set the box aside with your trash, leaving the ring on your finger. West blinks a few times. Why of it? Well, happy birthday. You nod in response. Bakugo now glares at you, but more from being deep in thought than anything else. What? You finally ask him, now speaking Japanese. I thought you just said that to get her off your case. I didn't realize it was actually your birthday. You shrug. What's it matter? Not like I was gonna do anything anyway. He growls a bit. Whatever. You move to finish your last bite, when a muffled beeping comes from your backpack. You and Bakugo lock eyes, while West looks around in confusion. You hurriedly snatch the laptop from its place in your bag. What's that about? West inquires. Alarm. Don't worry about it, you dismiss. You type quickly to silence the program, but you and Bakugo already know what it means. The program should have notified Aizawa's phone as well. Where is it? Bakugo asks. Few blocks. Checking the feeds now. Bakugo looks over to the table with the other boys. It seems they heard the noise too, given the obvious attempts to not look over but doing it anyway. Midoriya and Bakugo lock eyes, and Bakugo nods. The others know too. Good. You don't look up. West looks between Bakugo, the other group, and you. Seriously, what's going on? You sound serious, he chuckles nervously. Don't worry about it. What's going on? You feel a bit frustrated. I said dash. Don't tell me not to worry about it, he snaps at you. Clearly something is going on and last I checked, I'm your friend, and I want to help. I can't help if I don't understand. You stop mid-type. West dash you sigh. It's actually super complicated. He quirks an eyebrow. I've got time. Well, we don't, Bakugo growls. So back the F off. I don't care if she tells a shithead like you, but it's gonna be on her terms. West watches Bakugo with a strange expression, then nods. All right, turns to you. I trust you. Whatever it is, you're making it seem really bad, so I hope you'll be okay. You nod and turn back to the laptop. I hope so too. I have no idea right now, honestly. You pause when you find the footage of a glowing green portal. Gotcha. You send a message to Aizawa's phone, dropping a pin to the location. You watch anxiously as a figure saunters through the portal. Gatekeeper. It's him. Without waiting to see more, you shut the laptop and stuff it in your bag, knowing exactly where to go. Midoriya catches your eye. You peep your head in the direction of the exit, and move out swiftly. Bakugo isn't far behind. The boys at the elite table find an excuse to leave without raising too much suspicion and follow shortly after. You're too focused to care about Alistair's icy gaze trailing you and the boys as you leave the busy lunchroom. Aizawa arrives before you. He's hidden behind a trash bin, crouching low. You wouldn't have seen him if he hadn't whistled in your direction. The 7 of you join him in the alley. 4 of them, Gatekeeper, and 3 others. Where are they now? You ask softly. Talking over there in the back lot. You peek over to look at the lot. It's surrounded by brick walls on 3 sides. It's a bend in the alleyway, as if turning to a new street, but it leads to a dead end. The corner to turn before entering said dead end is where the 8 of you lie in wait. There's a door to a building embedded in one of the walls, presumably an office or apartment complex, based on the windows scaling up the side. The opposite wall has no windows and no doors. They stand a few feet away from the door, much closer than all of you. They're talking too quietly for you to hear. Your eyes widen when you realize who the remaining 3 are. Damn it, more hot villains. Did you have a plan, Aizawa-san? He shakes his head. I was merely observing. We may outnumber them, but we are quirkless at the moment. They are not. Plus, they have 2 allies that can create portals. That alone is a great disadvantage. We'd need to be smart about this. I'll go in then, you say quickly. The boys all look at you like you're out of your mind. You continue before they try and talk, possibly ruining your cover. They don't know me, not really. I may look like someone they know, but I'm not that person. I can pose as someone trying to get into that building. I'm doing a report for my school, or something. I don't know. I'll think on my feet. I'll try and not engage them, but get close enough to hear them. L/N Sandash Aizawa begins. You have no other options. You can't fight them. Right now, this is to gather intel and see if we can predict the Gatekeeper's next move, at the very least, find out more about their powers or motives. We need something. We can't be idle. Aizawa meets your gaze levelly. All right. Your jaw drops. He's really letting me do this? You think excitedly. The all boys look ready to explode. Aizawa silences them before they have a chance to object, glaring as he would when he uses his quirk. She's our only option. You all may look slightly different, but she is the only one that didn't come from our reality. I trust her abilities. The last sentence makes the boys silent. They trust you, but worry about you immensely. Aizawa looks at you again. Gather as much information as you can. If they remain in this world, we can plan our attack based on when they lose their abilities. Go quickly. You nod, smiling slightly. You stand and adjust your backpack and produce from it a pencil and small notebook, hoping to stick to your cover story. You jot quickly in the first clean page you find. You take a breath to compose yourself. You walk out of hiding. Turning the corner, you are able to take in all of their appearances. Gatekeeper is covered completely in all black, save a frightening, smiling theatrical mask. Kurogiri, wearing a silver collar, white button-up shirt and gray vest, chic burgundy tie, deep purple body billowing like smoke. Dabi, dressed casually, his creamy skin juxtaposing the dark pruny skin, the two nailed together with copious staples and piercings, appraising all things around him with his gleaming turquoise eyes. Shigaraki Tamura, not wearing his many hands, but wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, his dull powder blue hair concealed mostly by the hood, skin cracked and dry-looking. You try your best not to stare, and simply act surprised, as if you stumble upon them. Dabi, the only one facing you directly, immediately locks eyes with you. You can't help but blush at the penetrative glare. He looks at you as if he recognizes you, but you don't give the same reaction to him. I have to pull this off, you tell yourself. The others follow his gaze, and you take nervous steps forward as they watch. Shigaraki has his back to you. He's the only one that hasn't turned around. Oh, you laugh nervously. I didn't realize people were here, sorry. Dabi's eyes narrow. Gatekeeper speaks. May we help you, darling child? Their voice is as modulated and odd-sounding as when you first heard it. Ah yes, sorry. Your costumes are so interesting I nearly forgot. You smile in a way you hope is convincing. I like cosplay myself, so I definitely gotta give you guys props. For your skills. Cosplay? You hear a gravelly voice speak, and you have to assume it's Shigaraki. A gnarled-looking hand reaches up and scratches the unseen neck behind the hood. Yeah. Anyway, you say, stepping closer. You're now closer to them than you are the boys. I'm here for a school project on that building right there. Well, not that building specifically, but I chose that building for my report. Dabi smirks at you. Sorry, doll. That building's off limits? He saunters closer to you. You stop and look confused. But I called the city and they said it was okay. Something seems to click in Shigaraki's brain, because he's suddenly WHPS around to you with an expression you can't decipher. His red eyes are wide, and there's a ghost of a smile. It's disconcerting. Do. He looks ready to surge forward at any moment. Shigaraki-san, Kurogiri warns softly. Remember what we were told? Shigaraki watches you with his head tilted slightly. He considers for a moment, then begins to nod. Nodding. Yes, this is a different girl. But she's the same. But she's different. I guess I understand. He begins scratching his neck again, glaring at you. But she looks so similar. You laugh awkwardly. Alright. Well, might I just sneak past you guys? It's as my friend said, Miss, Kurogiri says. This building is now off limits. Gatekeeper tilts their head. You speak remarkable Japanese. How they all begin to flank you doesn't go unnoticed. You smile brightly at them, hoping to rid them of the clear suspicion. Thank you. I go to a school meant to prepare students for international business, so Japanese is a learning requirement, since Japan is such a large country in regards to the business world. But about this building, are you guys using it for something? Shigaraki stiffens, and pauses his scratching. Why do you need to know that? That's a yes. Well, I need to do a report on the history of the city's architecture, and I chose this building. It's due in a few weeks, so I can come back another time, but I was hoping to do some research here today on it. How long will you guys be using it? What's the address? You freeze but quickly recover. You turn to Dabi. What do you mean? He smiles wickedly, leaning in a bit closer to you. What's the... Address? Of this building? You ask. There's no way they know the address either. Time to bullshit. It's 1222 West 34th, right? You pale. Oh no, did I come to the wrong place? No, I think you came to the right place. He places an arm around your shoulders. He exchanges a look with the other guys, who nod. But here's the thing, doll. He begins guiding you towards the exit, close to where your friends wait. We're using this building for the foreseeable future. He releases you and places both hands on your shoulders. So can you get out of here so the big boys can finish talking? Don't get me wrong, you're cute. He snatches your chin and moves your face side to side. You're pliable to his touch, though you hate that it isn't an act. Real cute. If you want to stop by another time, once I'm settled in, I'd love to show you around. He gives you a CC smolder, placing his hands in his pockets. You blush. He's acting. I'm acting. Get a grip. You lick your lips slightly. Will all four of you be showing me around? You look up at him through fluttery lashes. He clicks his tongue, grinning. Cheeky thing. He snickers as he pats your cheek. Not all. Those three are just here to check things out for now. They'll be back soon. But it seems I'm here to stay. And I'm sure I can keep you satisfied until they get here. You press forward slightly, barely inches away. Well, you giggle. I guess I'll have to come and do some proper research another day. He grins lecherously. I hope you will, doll. You begin to back away, giving him a small wave. He winks at you and turns around. You take another glance at the three men, watching you both with unreadable and mostly unseeable expressions. Shigaraki in particular has a sour glare, eyes dancing between you and Dabi. You turn around and walk further away, needing to get away quick, especially from Shigaraki's unnerving eyes. You subtly signal to the guys as you walk away to get the hell out of Dodge, in case the villains decide to watch your exit. They do as you say. The villains don't bother doing as you feared. You meet the boys at your apartment. When you open the door, the scene is very similar to coming home after your first villain encounter, lots of noise, not a lot of coherence. This time though, instead of Todoroki placing his hands on your shoulders, you are embraced in a hug. You hug back immediately with a sigh. I'm okay, you say, equal parts to him and to yourself. I'm glad, he says simply. After a good moment, you release his hug, and walk to the center of the room and plop onto one of the cushions on the floor. Alright, give me what you heard on your end. That the man with burns expects you to return to that building at a later time, Aizawa states flatly. Your face blooms in color. That was all acting. I don't intend on doing anything, sheet. That was implied. Now I'm just digging the hole deeper. But anyway, that was at the end. Basically what I found is that Dabi the man with burns, and probably Toga are staying in that building for a while. Shigaraki and Kurogiri are not staying here for now, but will be back soon. I'm not sure what their motives are. That's useful information to have, Aizawa notes, more to the boys than to you, you figure. They're probably still mad at him for letting you go in there in the first place. At some point, we're going to have to confront them, Kirishima points out, scratching the back of his head. Right? Midoriya agrees. We'll need an actual plan for when that will happen. We need to know more. You groan. Does that mean I gotta go back there? Let's not jump to that conclusion just yet, Aizawa interjects. We now know where they live. I can do some recon while you all are at school. Dabi doesn't know who you are, or at least doesn't think you know who we are. But Toga does. You'll have to be careful if you're going to interact with them, it has to be separate. You nod. It's probably safer to talk with Toga. She's lost her powers. But she knows what you know, and where you live, Kirishima counters. But she also has a reason not to hurt me. Dabi could turn at any time, you point out. Kirishima grits his teeth, admitting you're right in that regard. I'll approach Toga first. After a few days, when Dabi's lost his powers, I'll approach him as well. Try and figure out their motives and plans. You turn to Aizawa. If I'm going to get anywhere with Toga, I'm going to need to meet her today around the time school lets out. If I don't meet her, any sense of trust she has in me will be gone. Aizawa nods, considering. Then you should prepare for that. You still have several hours. You nod. I'll do that, then. Apparently to you, preparing consisted of pacing your apartment for several hours, with short breaks in between to shower and for Todoroki to practically force-feed you, despite your insistence that you weren't hungry. He really is such a mom. The boys have filtered in and out, taking shifts with you. They didn't want to overwhelm you, but they all were probably more worried than you were. Classes have just ended, you realize, and you'll have to leave relatively soon. You aren't sure if your nerves stem from fear or excitement. You know you shouldn't, but you can see a scenario where you genuinely enjoy spending time with Toga, in one capacity or another. Maybe you're afraid that you're excited. I feel like I'm a spy, you admit with a small giggle as you get ready. You get dressed as if it's a date. In some perverse way, it probably is. It's pretty accurate, Kaminari laughs, rubbing your shoulders firmly. He stands behind you in the bathroom mirror, having insisted he uses his time with you to help you get ready. The fact that he's almost a full head taller than you is more noticeable through the reflection. He glances at the ring on your pinky finger and lifts your hand up to inspect it. Where's this from? He asks almost suspiciously. Wes gave it to me today, you say, unsure why he's so confused. It's not like it's on your wedding ring finger. Ah, he says, releasing it. You watch him through the mirror. What for? My birthday, you mumble. You did technically tell them it was your birthday today. They all just assumed it was an out. His eyes widen. Baby, he grasps your shoulders and turns you towards him. Why didn't you tell me it was your birthday? How old are you now? 16, you say simply, avoiding his eyes. He pinches your cheek. You're sweet 16? You really are a baby. You swat his hand away with a laugh. Oh really? And you're such an adult. He shrugs. In Japan? It's 18, right? You grunt. Yeah. I guess you're right. You turn back around and continue flouncing your hair and checking the final touches on your makeup. Kaminari leans down and rests his head on your shoulder with a pouty expression. I wish you'd told us it was your birthday. For real, not just fake. Why? You ask with a smirk, hoping to ease his sadness like his presence has eased your nerves. Would you have gotten me a present? Duh. He doesn't meet your eyes through the mirror. His cheeks hold a cherry color. What a cutie, you smile as you pat his head. You boys being here is more than I could ever ask for. Seriously? Kaminari finally looks at you. We've caused you nothing but trouble. Troubles. But it's not a troubling kind of trouble. If that makes any sense. Like, my life before you guys was boring as F-. It just straight SCKD. Now that I have you guys, I don't want to let you go. You're saying I'm your present? He asks, his usual grin finally plastered on his face. He moves to lean on the counter next to you. You turn to face him. I mean, yeah, you laugh a bit, blushing. Then I better make it worth your while, huh? He slips his hand across your cheek and into your hair, the other pulling you in by your waist. The cocky grin never leaves his face. The boy knows he's got moves. Your eyes lit a little. Kaminari. Denki, he corrects with a whisper. Denki-kun, you whisper back, leaning in closer to him. What do you say, baby girl? Want me to give you your birthday gift? F-, I love when you call me that. Call you what? Baby girl? He smirks when you shudder a bit. You hadn't realized you'd said it out loud, but apparently you had. He leans in, his lips brushing gently against your ear. Baby girl, he whispers, let me love on you. Please, you him softly. Your hands feel up and down his chest. His lips press against your neck, right below the ear. I love when you beg for me, baby girl. You bite into your lip to resist the Denki-kun. His kisses trail down your neck, then back through the center of your throat and up your jaw. He retracts a bit after reaching your temple. We've got time, he says as if deciding something. You furrow your brows. For what? His lips slam on yours. The passion is there immediately, nothing held back or withdrawn. He puts every ounce of his energy into ravaging your mouth in a way that makes your legs weak as if they weren't already. His hands trail up and down your body, from your hair, to your chest, down to your butt and back up again. You give off soft gasps every time he grabs your butt with one of his hands. Eventually, his hands decide they prefer to play with the lower cheeks, grasping and jerking them as you play tug of war. You figure he's definitely in but guy. He gives one of your cheeks a firm slap and pulls away with a cheeky grin. You give a high-pitched in response, immediately embarrassed, since the noise wasn't muffled by his mouth like you'd expected. Baby, you're a feisty one, aren't you? The both of you are breathing a little. Whose fault is that, Denki-kun? He places a finger on your lips. Only call me that when we're alone, baby girl. It gets me too riled up otherwise. You lightly kiss his finger. You smirk, knowing you're pushing your luck. What if I like getting you riled up, Denki-kun? He moves his hand to clasp your cheek, thumb moving across your lips. Then you'll have to pay the consequences, no matter where we are. You open your mouth and seek his thumb lightly, looking up at him a bit through your lashes. He gives a sharp inhale. You release after a moment and casually turn back to the mirror, fussing over your appearance once again. You messed up the lipstick. Help me fix it? He chuckles. Please. His entire demeanor relaxes. Yeah, I know, we've got just enough time to fix you back up before you gotta go. You look at him through the mirror suspiciously. Did you plan this, Minori? If you wanted to wear my lipstick, you could have just asked. He smirks. What? Me plan this out? No way. He doesn't sound very convincing. You'd never be that devious, would you? You say sarcastically. It's more a statement than a question. Never ever. You get it? You nod, still smiling. I got it. Now fix my face, I've got a date to go to.